looks to go in the opening corner. Sanders pressured after the fake and throws another interception. Mac Jones picked it off.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Cryer from the corner. And it rattles home.
Wow. What a TO, baby.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Jerome Ford, big seam. Jerome Ford is revving and tearing it up. Touchdown, Cincinnati, 79 yards.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Smith to the air. Blitz coming. Ball's down. Baylor recovers. You could see it coming off the edge untouched. And Smith was absolutely crunched. It was the corner blitz. Raleigh Tejada.
Now, here's Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak.
Welcome into Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports on YouTube. Scotty B, the Baylor King, first in the chat room today. And it's a quite often feed, although it hasn't been in the last couple of weeks for Scotty B. He's slipping a little bit. Although after Baylor tennis season, slows down, he's got to recharge his batteries. But Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak with you here on this Friday as we head into Memorial Day weekend. Max Olson of The Athletic will join us at 3:30, and we'll have Mitch Thompson, MCC baseball coach from Grand Junction, at 4. Our good friend who is there, and MCC has just become absolutely dominant under his leadership there. And then we're going to replay Linda Livingstone at 5 o'clock. From earlier this week, a really informative interview. But, usually we would start out with big college football news if there was some. But today, Craig, at least in the Big 12, the big news is in college basketball. Tyrese Hunter from Iowa State, who was in the transfer portal. He was down to believed to be Texas and Kansas. He has chosen to play for Texas and Chris Beard, whose roster is chock full of transfers, and that's what he's done. He is the portal king, really, or one of them of college basketball. I don't know. I mean, I guess Scott Drew probably is because he's won a national championship with him. But
I don't know, man. Texas Tech's right in that mix, and there's a few just in the Big 12 alone. I mean, they've got a lot of transfers, but I don't know about Crown and King because it hadn't really amounted to anything just yet.
Yeah, but as far as just loading his team up with, mostly college transfers, Chris Beard's done that at Texas in what's going to be his second season now. And look, that's a pretty salty lineup, and we'll see how it works out for them down the line. I do think that one of the things that I think works out for teams and worked out particularly for Baylor and for Kansas the last couple of years is, yes, you had your transfers, but you also had your team that was built up and played together for a while. And the transfers – and with Baylor, it was those transfers had played together a while that worked out. So I don't know if you can just have all, like that's the same thing with Lincoln Riley at USC. You get all these transfers in 1 year, but it probably takes a year for them to get used to each other.
Yeah, I mean, it takes some amount of time. If it didn't, then Chris Beard's Texas team last year would have been good out of the gates and would have remained good and they ended up having a respectable year when all was said and done, made the tournament and all that. So, it worked out okay. But in terms of, building a championship roster, I think you got to have a little bit more meat on the bone, and you can't just throw a bunch of ingredients together and expect that it's going to be a masterpiece recipe. So he's got some great ingredients, whether they all mesh together or not, is the question. And last year they did not all the way. There was a little bit off that prevented them from being even better than they were. So, it's just the trendy thing to do now. Baylor does it. Texas Tech does it. It seems like they recruit more out of the portal, as much as anybody, and more than they do the high school ranks. But it kind of seems like that with most teams nowadays. And even if it may seem that way, it may not be the case. But it's just, it's very transfer heavy right now in the Big 12, from Tech to Baylor to Texas to Kansas. And a lot of it's all just incest, basically. Like it's Jalen Bridges going from West Virginia to Baylor. It's now Tyrese Hunter going from Iowa State to Texas. It's, McCullough going from Tech to Kansas. And, Matthew Meyer could, in theory, end up in the Big 12 at, Texas Tech. And it's great for those guys. It's great they have that freedom of movement. I kind of hate it. I don't like seeing basically all the teams. It'd be like the Redskins and the Cowboys and the Commanders and the Cowboys and the Eagles and the Giants just trading each other's players and then coming back next year and it's just rearranged versions of the same teams. So it's kind of odd in that way that we're going to see so many guys we saw last year but playing against their old teams. But regardless, Tyrese Hunter's a great pickup for Texas. A really good player. Obviously had a really good year last year and a good enough year that he felt like, hey, Iowa State's probably treating me really well, but I'm going to go in the transfer portal and see, what's what. And obviously he got a lot of attention and had a lot of big programs coming after him. And in the end, UT's the one he chooses. So tough pill to swallow for Iowa State. And, a great thing to celebrate if you're a UT fan. He definitely makes them better. I don't, like I said, like the in-conference transferring, and we've seen so much of that in this conference in particular in basketball, but it is what it is. And so Iowa State's loss is UT's gain, and if you're Chris Beard, you got to be thrilled today.
Yeah, I don't know. And the era is different now, but to me, even, 20 years ago, you just wouldn't have seen it unless you were just trying to be really bitter or I don't know. It's so different. So I think it's hard for a lot of us to wrap our head around, like, how could you want to go to a team in conference, a team that you several times last year, at least twice, maybe 3 times, got geeked up to beat.
Yeah.
And you psychologically put it in your head, like, I don't like these guys.
Yeah, I just don't think they think that like the fans do. I think they just think about, okay, where's the most money or where's the best fit and where's the spot for me. Where's my spot? And all of us on the outside looking in who are just fans or media or whatever you want to label it, we look at it a little bit differently. Yeah, it's like, it's like staying it's like being in the family. It's weird, like a cheating thing almost. You know what I'm saying? It just feels strange to see a UT guy now, or that was an Iowa State guy, and see a Baylor guy that was a West Virginia guy, and see a Kansas guy that was a Tech guy. Like, I don't know why these guys can't transfer out of the conference. I know they've got options, but for some reason they end up right where they were, basically, just shifting over a state or two. So it's kind of weird, again, how that's all played out. I'm not the biggest fan of just the inter-conference trading around, and I've said that now a couple of times, so I think my point's been made there. But regardless, it doesn't matter how I feel. It's what was best for Tyrese Hunter. It's what was best for Kevin McCullough and Jalen Bridges and all these other guys. So it's a weird trend, but it's a trend that's benefiting Texas today.
Yeah, it is. And, I'll be curious to see where Matthew Meyer does end up. I think that I believe he's going to North Carolina. You think he's going to North Carolina?
I don't know. I mean, if I had to bet money on it, yeah, I would probably bet on North Carolina, but I don't know. I mean, if he said Texas Tech, I really wouldn't be shocked by that. If he said Illinois, I wouldn't really be shocked by that either. So I don't pretend to have any great grasp on what he's thinking. I mean, if you read social media, then certainly North Carolina seems like they're the favorite. And then, everybody else kind of feels like they have a chance. But, yeah, North Carolina, I would probably lean towards them. But I really have no idea what he's thinking. And, I mean, given what we're talking about here, him, popping up in Lubbock to try to finish off that team's roster and put them over the top would not be a shocker. So I hope that doesn't happen because, again, I've already stated I'm not a fan of all this. And that would just be another weird interconference trade. Like, you think about that, dude. Like, next year we're looking at like 5 of the best players in the conference who are all in the conference, but they're on different teams.
Yeah.
Like, that's just weird. So if he joins that fray, I wouldn't be shocked by that, no.
Yeah, I think if you're Matthew Meyer, what's important to you is NIL. I think that's a big deal for him in particular. A team that's going to win again and getting you ready for the NBA. I think those 3 intersect really well in North Carolina. Not that they don't at Memphis and Illinois and Tech as well, but North Carolina was in the national championship game just a year ago. They didn't really lose that much. They need a little bit of depth, obviously, because they ultimately lost that game at the end when they had some injuries and when Baycott went out and North Carolina just couldn't make up for his absence. So I think that's why it makes the most sense, because he's already won a national title. I'm sure you'd like to do it again. And NIL money, I'm sure with North Carolina basketball is probably a little bit more than it is in a lot of places because that's a basketball first school. But you never know. It just, and then getting ready for the NBA, I don't have to say it's North Carolina. So
yeah, and there's a couple things there. I mean, I wish Matthew Meyer the best, but he wasn't a perfect player by any means. And it's interesting to see the fan base is kind of clamoring over him. They're like, what is Baylor doing? Like, how stupid, and not really understanding the situation that unfolded here in Waco. I get it, though, on the outside looking in. Like, why would they lose a player like Matthew Meyer? That's odd, but it's not like there's a, coaching controversy or there's like some dust up or – no, it's the way that it worked out. So, there he was, free and available, and, yeah, he's a really good player, and I think if he's smart, he won't so much, it depends on what he wants. We do know he wants NIL. We know that. And we do know that he wants to win. I mean, why wouldn't he want to at this point? That's pretty much all he's done during his college career, and you've got one more run in you. You want to try to win another national championship, and how amazing would that be to win it, twice with two different teams? I mean, that'd be a pretty cool accomplishment. So, any of those teams that we've mentioned seem like they'd be good spots for him to make a potential championship run, in particular North Carolina, in particular Tech, among the others. So I think he's good to go there with whatever he chooses, but I do think it's an interesting choice from the standpoint of we don't know what his NBA future is, and it's not bright enough that he was able to go in the draft last year and stay there. Remember, he got out of there, and then he did it again this year, and then he got out of there. And so what that tells me is that, well, I don't know, maybe his NBA stock isn't really that high, given that he's jumped in the pool twice and gotten back out both times to return to college. So if I'm him, I think championship would be top of mind, but I would imagine too, like, this is maybe your best chance at a payday in your basketball career. I mean, if you think about it, because the NBA is no guaranteed thing, certainly not, first round pick type of guarantee. And then Europe, I mean, who knows really what that even looks like, or overseas basketball. I mean, I know you can make good money there. We've known plenty of former Baylor guys that have gone and done that, but it's also a grueling grind of travel and being away from home. And today's world, we've heard from the guys that have been stationed over in Europe and just how odd it is to be away from America for that long, or, when things go kind of crazy in the world, to be that far away from home. So that's a type of living that you can make, and one that's enjoyable, but I don't know how much money there's in that. So point being that, like I said, I think this is a really important decision for him, not just from a basketball standpoint, but from a business standpoint of like, hey, this is my opportunity to really make a good amount of money here.
Yeah, Europe is really good money. I don't think it's like gold bathtub money.
No,
so
it's not NBA money.
Yeah, it's not NBA money. It's pretty good. It's good money though. It's life-changing money that can set you up for a little while. But yeah, it's not the same. I mean, sometimes those EuroLeague teams will pay out big for some guys, but for the most part, it's not. I mean, big is relative to the NBA and what they say. And yeah, I do think that's a big part of it. And I also think that from the beginning, I think the Baylor coaching staff was planning that Matthew Meyer, long term, like 2 years out, was not going to be on the roster. And then they just got to a point where they couldn't wait on him because Flagler was in the draft for a little bit, and then you've got Jalen Bridges and Caleb Lohner coming in, and now you don't have a spot. Now, if he wanted to come back to Baylor, I'm sure they would have made a spot for him, but it just got to that point where it was probably best for both parties to move on because that was the plan.
I mean, that's what we know of, but I still think it would be interesting to get Scott Drew sat down and really get into his head and, if he'd be honest about it, of like what really happened with Matthew Meyer, because it does seem like they moved on pretty quickly, and they did sort of have the reaction of, oh, well, we're done here, so good luck to them. They did it all respectfully and everything, but I know it still struck some people as odd of like, what do you mean you don't have a scholarship for this guy? What do you mean that you just kind of saw the writing on the wall? So there's parts of this that are still a little confusing or mysterious as to why it was just such a simple transition of him just leaving basically, and them not seemingly putting up that big of a fight. But yeah, I mean, that's where I think some of the, they decided they were moving on too, it's where that comes into play, because there wasn't a whole lot of pushback or angst or anything like that once he made his announcement. It was just like, okay, cool, best of luck to you. And they just kept on about their business, and he went about theirs. So it was kind of, I think, odd for people to see how seamless that was and why there wasn't a bigger fuss made for a player like that who's obviously very coveted by a lot of other premier teams out there. But I know they feel good about their roster. I know that, maybe Matthew Meyer could have made them better next year. But then again, I don't know that for sure because I don't know exactly what this team's going to look like, even if we know the players involved and how he would have fit into that and so on. But he was really good here in Waco. He had some moments where, he was certainly one of the more frustrating players you could watch at times. I mean, for the good, there was some of that, come on, dude. But there was a lot more of the good than any of that. So whoever gets him is going to get a really good player. And if they get the right fit, he could be the type of guy that puts somebody over the top and helps them win a national title.
Yeah. All right, Craig. I'm curious. I read this article in The Athletic. It was Chris Vanini and Nicole Auerbach. Both have been on the show in the last couple of weeks. What they wrote, they interviewed several different agents and asked them what they thought were the best coaching hires, what the worst ones were. Obviously, Lincoln Riley kind of one is the best hire, and I probably that to me is the one that would seemingly be the easiest one to work out the best because in my mind of all those guys who got hired, he's the best young coaching mind, he's the best recruiter, he's the complete package rolled all into one. There's not as many negatives about him as maybe there are about other people. But curious to your thoughts. I mean, have you given much thought to what might be the best coaching hire going into next season? Which one? Outside of Lincoln Riley, because we've talked about him a lot, but outside of Lincoln Riley, do you have one that sticks out to you?
Man, I'd have to go back over the list to remember all of them because, a couple pop in my head immediately, but, there were so many dadgum moves last year, man, that kind of have to remind myself of what even happened. But, yeah, Lincoln Riley, I think by default is the easy answer. There's not too much to really not like about the move unless you're an Oklahoma fan, and I know, hey, I am, but I'm not all bitter about Lincoln Riley leaving like a lot of other people still are. I'm just kind of like, all right, dude, you did your job while you were there. I don't like the way that you exited. I don't like the way that you said goodbye, 5 months after the fact with some Players Tribune article. I think that was pretty lame, and I think Riley showed a little bit of a thin backbone during the process. But I understand his move entirely. I'd rather live in Southern California than Norman, Oklahoma if I had millions of dollars too. I'd love to live in Southern California for a lot of reasons. A lot of reasons I probably wouldn't too, but I get it, man. Like, me, when we go out to Southern Cal, I feel right at home. And if you said, hey, here's millions of dollars to do what you love for a living in a premier program and you can have a house like we've seen the house that he has, I would be all over that versus staying in Norman. And I got family and been to Norman plenty of times, but I don't think there's much of a debate there. I really don't. So, there's a lot of reasons why I understand it. He was never an Oklahoma guy to begin with. He was a Texas Tech guy. So, it wasn't like he was leaving his alma mater in the dust. So, I could go on of why I don't really harbor any resentment towards him. It's a business and all of that. But, I think he made the decision that was best for him, and I think he was a great hire by USC, albeit in, the cover of darkness in so many ways, kind of like OU and Texas moved from the Big 12. Just kind of sprung on people out of nowhere. But, I think he's the easy default answer. Right. Yeah.
Okay, of the Big Daddy hires outside of USC, it would be LSU with Brian Kelly, Notre Dame with Marcus Freeman to replace Brian Kelly, Miami with Mario Cristobal, and I'm going to say Florida with Billy Napier because those are all schools that have won national titles, since we've been alive. So, of those, taking Lincoln Riley out of it, because we just talked about him, which one do you think is going to work out the best?
I think Brent Venables could be sneaky good at Oklahoma.
I'm sorry, yeah. Replacing Lincoln Riley. That's another.
Yeah, I think Brent Venables could be sneaky good at Oklahoma. I know there's a lot of anticipation there already. I'm not quite exactly sure why. Because I do have some questions about their roster, and I do have I know Levy's offense is pretty simple. As far as applying it and getting it going and all of that, and plus you've already got your quarterback who knows all that stuff, so that'll be a seamless transition. And I think Venables will make that defense better. Are they going to be toe-to-toe as good as they've been like some of their playoff teams here recently? I don't know about that here first year. But I do think they could be, better than maybe some expect. Although, like I said, there's a lot of Oklahoma fans that I've seen at least that seem to have feelings that kind of like when Riley took over for Soups, that there's not going to be much drop off. So if there's not much drop off from Lincoln Riley, then I think that means Brent Venables did a pretty good job because they've been pretty consistently good now for a while and knocking on the door of that playoff. So I think him, a lot of them just on paper I like. And there's a bunch of others too, that are interesting, like Sonny Dykes at TCU, Dan Lanning at Oregon. But
Sonny Cumbie.
Sonny Cumbie, excuse me.
Sonny Cumbie at Louisiana Tech.
Yeah, Sonny Dykes at TCU. Yeah, Cumbie's at La Tech. I think Cristobal's the one that I like the best of all these. I like some of the others too, but if I'm just having to choose one, I just think that the fact that he is a Miami guy, pretty through and through, and that's obviously a job that he's been kind of eyeing, and clearly once he had that opportunity, even being at a great place like Oregon, that it's got pretty much everything at your disposal, he decided, nope, I know I barely even had a cup of tea out here, but I'm going to still go back home to Miami. And just with the NIL era and what they're able to do there, and we already see how active their boosters have gotten in the whole NIL deal, I think that he knows the culture, or how to improve the culture out there, but also maintain the type of culture that got Miami where they were in the first place, just doing it his own way. So sort of having that old Miami mixed with the new Miami that he's going to bring to the table and entering them into this next wave of college football with NIL and with the Blue Bloods really, having even more than ever before at their disposals. I think, in bottom line, he's just a good football coach too. So, yeah, I think he's going to do well down there. I think it's going to take some time. It's not going to be year one necessarily, but I do think he can do a really good job down there.
Yeah, what I wonder is, and I don't put this on Mike Norvell yet, but I wonder if Billy Napier and Mario Cristobal can help plug the leak that's coming out of Florida, the state of Florida, when it comes to recruits, because those three schools are not getting the best recruits in their state anymore. Mm-hmm. Those guys are going everywhere else, whether it's Alabama or Georgia or LSU or Notre Dame or wherever. They're going other places, all over the place. And when those three schools had the lid on the state, guess what? They won the most. And so right now they don't have clear, heck, Clemson's, rating the state of Florida really well. So they have, if those two guys in particular, and maybe if Mike Norvell is truly the right guy at Florida State, if the three coaches at the three big schools in Florida can do something, I do like the two hires that both those schools made. You've heard me talk about Billy Napier at length. I really like him.
Everybody's really down on them this year, though.
Yeah, I mean they're like Dan Mullen was not recruiting 5-star guys. He was recruiting a lot of 3-star guys and a couple of 4-stars. And
Napier wasn't coaching 5-star guys either, so that's why I think that maybe everybody's overplaying that a little bit. We'll see. I mean, maybe Florida sucks, but I think they can be better than the kind of – I just feel a really negative connotation when I hear people talk about them, and I'm like, well, he's a pretty good coach, and it's not like he was working with just some loaded roster in Lafayette, so – I think they're going to be okay, but it's going to take some time.
But, and look, the Miami roster has a good quarterback, but they don't have the Miami, the speed that they used to. I mean, the teams that won in the 80s and the teams that won, in the early 2000s were built on just pure ridiculous speed. Mm-hmm. And their linebackers and their front seven was just huge and mean and angry, and that's how they won. That's how they won games. If Mario Cristobal get that again, he has to, they've got to put a cap on Miami first of all, because that's one of the best talent-rich areas in the country. And Miami's not getting people to stay at home. Florida's not getting people to stay at home. Florida State's not getting people to stay at home. If they can get people to stay at home, then that'll be different. But that's why I think those two are interesting. But I do kind of agree with you that Venables might be the one who, kind of comes in with the least amount of fanfare, at least nationally, because the fanfare left with Lincoln Riley. He took it with him because he's the young guy, the quarterback genius, the Heisman Trophy, tactician that he is. But Brent Venables has been, with Bob Stoops and Dabo Swinney for the last, 20 years of his career almost? And then I guess Bill Snyder before that. So he's worked under three geniuses and or people who've run excellent programs. So I think this is his time, and he waited his time. He didn't, leave Clemson and, go coach at Wake and then, bounce his way around until he could kind of, pop into the Oklahoma job. He waited. He waited for a job like that and took it, and I don't think he's messing around. I think they'll probably hit the ground running.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's going to be a ton of drop-off. I mean, I do have some questions about the roster, but I don't think that we're looking at them going into the cellar for a couple of years and then emerging like a phoenix. Like he's got that much of a rebuild or a redo to have to do. But, I mean, there's other coaching hires that I like. I mean, I think Joey McGuire is going to do well at Tech. I think that Brian Kelly's going to do well at LSU. Like, there's a lot of these. I think Marcus Freeman could do well at Notre Dame, but I mean, the one that I look at and I go like, yeah, he really seems to got some mojo is certainly Cristobal at Miami. But I mean, again, I could make an argument for all those others as well. So it'll be really interesting to see, who does in about a year or two's time end up on that hot seat list as they review the 2022 coaching cycle and let's look back and give letter grades to, once they do that piece here in about a year or two. It'll be interesting to see, who's still marked as an A, because there were a lot of A hires in those articles at the time of the carousel, and how many of those guys remain that way, of Kelly and Cristobal and Venables and so many others. Who knows? I mean, I think we feel good about a lot of those guys. There's not too many that I think are really all that questionable. There's not one that stands out. I mean, Brian Kelly was awkward. There's no doubt he was awkward, but I don't think anybody thinks that was a bad hire or that's going to fail in any way. It just might be an awkward thing at times. But, there's not too many that you point out and go like, oh, God, that one was that's not going to work out. I didn't really see a whole lot of that, so that makes it really unique, and it was a unique cycle, so it should be unique. But, it's going to be very interesting to see how the first years go, and then as we know, the first years don't determine the rest of it either. I mean, if you're just going on first years, Dave Aranda would have been thrown to the wayside after a few games. So would Matt Rule, and we know how that worked out for Baylor in the long run with both of those guys, and there's plenty of other examples as well. So I mean, some of these will be seamless, some of these will be maybe a bit rockier than expected, and some of these are going to take a little bit more time than the others. But there should be, you would think, some good transformations from this last carousel. There better be, because it was busy for a reason with all these blue bloods.
All right, when we come back, Max Olson of The Athletic, he wrote an article re-ranking the 2018 recruiting class 4 years later. We'll have him. Then after that, 4 o'clock, Mitch Thompson, we'll talk to him about what MCC's doing in Grand Junction, which, again, looks like they're on another roll, maybe on their way to another JUCO World Series. This is SicEm 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Payments for qualified buyers at 2.9% for 72 months with $5,000 down cash or trade. TTL Extra. See dealer for details.
Summer driving is coming. Save now at Richard Carr's Summer is Coming Savings Event. Find summer savings like a 2015 GMC Sierra 2500 HD for $318 a month, or 2020 Buick Encore for $288 a month, or get a 2015 Cadillac SRX for $212 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection, and we pay top dollar for your trade. 100% approval is always our goal.
At Richard Carr, we give you more. At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance, and there are no hidden costs. Even offering financing if that's needed, everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com, or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the City of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed, and kids club. 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs. Knowing you, that's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Max Olson of The Athletic. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus. And best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects. With 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Welcome back. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak. Smoaky's off today. We'll be back on Tuesday. Max Olson of The Athletic joins us now. And Max, since we've spoken to you since last week, you wrote a great column on re-ranking the class of 2018. And I was surprised to see that Texas didn't really fall that far in spite of their overall results and getting and a coach got fired in those 4 years.
Yeah, it's true that this is a re-rank that we do every year around signing day, and we updated it this week with the results from the NFL draft, which didn't really change the rankings a lot much. Georgia still had the best class in 2018 by far, and just a ton of draft picks, obviously 14 in that class. But yeah, Texas is one of those where kind of like they got a lot of starters out of their 2018 class, a lot of guys that are still there and will start again this year. But, would you say they've got like first round picks in that class? No, they don't. And that was a class that was a top 5 class for Tom Herman and certainly raised expectations there. And, there's some good players like DeMarvion Overshone who are still there who have a chance to help their stock. And Joseph Osai obviously had a really good year in 2020. But, it's one of those kind of mixed bags a little bit where, the guys either started or left basically. And the ones who started, pretty good players, not a ton of all-conference players in that class.
And Max, looks like the playoff teams, you look at the re-rankings, it's basically the college football playoff, isn't it?
Yeah, that's not intentional, but that's kind of how it works out, right? I think that's still – it's funny because we talk so much when I talk to you guys about transfer portal and who's going where and all this stuff, but I think at the end of the day, it's still pretty important to have a veteran team and have a team full of guys that you've developed for a couple of years. And in this case with the rankings, the one that really stood out was Cincinnati, just a terrific class by Luke Fickell and his staff. It goes to show you just what they can do in terms of development. Obviously Clemson did well because, this is the class that had Trevor Lawrence in it. And, he took them all the way very early on in his career. But, this is, Michigan is one that a lot of people probably would have been disappointed by Michigan's class on signing day in terms of where it ranked. But, they signed Aiden Hutchinson and a lot of great players that, built a playoff team. So that's kind of where, we're trying to judge how did you retain them? How did you develop them? How many of them really started and made a big impact for you? And those are some of the schools that did really well.
You had Baylor 14th on the re-rank, and they were 29th in 2018 initially. So developing players, that's what Matt Rule and Dave Aranda have done over the last couple of years. Was there anybody who, when you started doing the math, just really jumped out at you?
Well, it's funny because Baylor is one of those classes that did move up this week because, Tyquan Thornton got drafted higher than I probably expected back in February. And that just goes to show you, I mean, you knew obviously those guys were going to light it up at the combine, but, it makes a ton of sense, obviously, that class grades out really well just in terms of, their ability to, play for two Big 12 championships. And certainly we saw they took Matt Rule and those guys took the right approach in terms of the kind of athletes they were looking for. And Dave Aranda did a great job of keeping those guys too, because a lot of times when these classes go through, coaching change in the middle of their careers, that's usually when you see at a lot of these schools, these guys go bail and go play somewhere else. And that's a credit to Baylor that they were able to hold on to those guys and keep winning with that class.
So, Max, we were talking just a few minutes ago about the other article in The Athletic, Nicole Auerbach and who was it? Chris Vanini. We're reviewing the coaching carousel and kind of giving our own thoughts on that as well. Is there a hire that sticks out to you that if you had to put your next paycheck, like this is the hire in the program I have the most confidence in, and then one on the opposite end of the spectrum of you're like, I don't know, like I'm not sure about this one. Is there an example of both those for you from this past carousel?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think that I'm pretty, I don't know, maybe I'm being naive, but I'm pretty optimistic that it's going to work out for Mario Cristobal. Obviously, it's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take pretty crazy level of recruiting, but we've also seen him do that at Oregon. I'm not saying Miami's, going to win a national title in the next 5 years, but I do think he's kind of man. And I guess we've seen some of these lately, right, where you say it's the perfect hire and they didn't go right, but that's kind of in terms of getting him and Clemson's AD in at the same time and really investing in it. I think that one's going to do pretty well. Honestly, I do. And then you asked me what one's going to kind of bust. I don't know. What stands out to you guys?
I don't know. I'm not sure how. I think Brian Kelly will do well at LSU, but I don't know if they're going to get out of him what they wanted to.
I think it's the weirdest one for sure. I mean, and even if you ask. And I've had that conversation with other Power 5 coaches this spring when you go visit them. Like, what did you think of that? And they're just like, what's he doing? What was he like to leave Notre Dame as the all-time winningest coach and just go chase? Maybe is it about chasing the national championship? Is it just kind of chasing more pay and prestige and all that? I don't know. That one will never not baffle me. And then, man, if you're talking about that cycle too, like just Auburn not making a change is also crazy.
Yeah, especially what do they do? Like they turn around, especially they're mad, or there's plenty of people that are mad at Brian Harsin, and if they turn out to be right, they've waited another year.
Well, look, it's like what we saw, USC this last year, right? I mean, how many games can Auburn lose before they're firing the coach and maybe firing the AD too, right? I mean, so it feels like it's such a short leash, and it's one of those things where. Look, I'm not saying it's right for them to fire Brian Harsin after year one. I don't think that makes a lot of sense, but clearly a lot of people are out on him. And so you really wonder, how, unless he just wins a lot of games this year, how is that situation really going to improve here in the next 12 months?
Yeah, that was a great. Both articles we've talked about so far have been really good stuff, really entertaining read. So hats off to everybody involved, and I'm gonna go back and read through that again tonight, just because there's some very interesting comments to pick up on. But Max, you've also been very busy throughout the last few months, monitoring, looking at, and reporting on the transfer portal. And we had you on last week. It was like, boom, the big announcement had finally come in, and you had to go, understandably.
Oh, yeah.
Jordan Addison to USC, and I know there's, you had a post just a few hours ago, Diamante Tucker Dorsey from James Madison heading to Texas, and I know USC picked up another guy, but first things first, just your thoughts in the immediacy and now the last few days about the shockwave that was Jordan Addison finally ended up in Southern Cal.
Yeah, it feels like this transfer portal cycle is kind of done now. All the big names are really off the board here at this point. Other than maybe Charlie Jones from Iowa going in the portal the other day, which is surprising. I think we'll see some players try and go in the portal now and try to get an exception as a grad transfer. We'll see how many people try to do that, but certainly Jordan Addison is it's fascinating. I'm not surprised it turned out that way, given he was linked to USC really from the start of that whole field for he even appeared in the portal. But that is they've gone out and added 4 wide receivers. Starting caliber wide receivers from the transfer portal this offseason with him, Mario Williams from OU, Brennan Rice from Colorado, and then Terrell Bynum from Washington. So, that whole offense, other than maybe up front, like that whole offense has totally been rebuilt through the portal. How quickly does it click? I mean, it's something we've never really totally seen before in terms of just building a brand new thing from scratch there on one side of the ball, and really a lot of it on defense too. So I think it's going to take USC more time. I do. Like, I don't think we should be talking playoff with them this year, but certainly I think probably the fan expectation is going to be very high very quickly there.
How are you dealing with the emotional trauma we've all felt from the Jimbo Fisher, Nick Saban war a week later?
Yeah, it's, I guess that's over too. That's a little sad as well. Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. I mean, there's just not, you really, honestly, I can't think of many other things you can really compare it to in terms of just nobody ever goes at Nick Saban like that. No one does. I mean, even the people that have worked with him, I mean, especially those guys, they always sort of treat him with deference. And so to see that, I don't know. I saw that, Alabama picked up a commitment from Eli Holstein, who was committed to Texas A&M in the past. I'm sure the recruiting battles between those two schools are going to be pretty terrific here from now through February.
And so now, Max, it's all eyes on Arch Manning, right?
That's right. Yeah. And he's going to take official visits this summer. I think he's still taking his time a little bit, still not sure what to do, but it does certainly seem like, as much as Alabama probably did want Arch Manning, that, they had to pull the trigger on somebody eventually. But I think this is going to be Georgia versus Texas. And, certainly two very different situations. One program, coming off a losing season, the other coming off a national championship. And, is it kind of the sales pitch of Sark's offense and all the guys that maybe they can put around him in the scheme that gives Texas the edge? Or is it, Georgia sort of being able to sell that, hey, they're going to get great recruits and they're going to, certainly stay in the playoff race? I'm fascinated to see kind of what wins out for him.
Max Olson of The Athletic. Max, enjoy the holiday weekend. Thanks for hopping on with us today.
Thanks, fellas.
All right. Max Olson of The Athletic. Oh, couldn't get there. He's fast, man.
He's ready to go enjoy Memorial Day weekend.
That's right. That's right. But yeah, that's interesting to hear his thoughts on the coaches. I do. I wonder about Brian Kelly. I think he'll do fine. I just don't know if he'll be able to do what they're paying him to do, which is win natties.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big question. I mean, that's, we all can only give our thoughts right now. And, there's not a lot of those hires that were made, even though there was many of them that you go oh, I don't know about that one. So you really got to kind of sit there and think about it. But he's just the one that comes to mind because it's just a weird fit. It just is. And it was from the very beginning and has remained that way, even though he's settled in a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, he's obviously going to have a big microscope. But a lot of these guys are, Billy Napier at Florida and Riley at USC, and the list goes on and on and on. And, again, like I said a little while ago, it'll be fascinating to see the retrospective that's done inevitably, kind of like the recruiting class thing that they did. But inevitably the Athletic or some other outlet or all of them will write an article here in a couple years re-ranking the coaching carousel. And I have no idea what that's going to look like. You could tell me any of the number of coaches that were hired could be on the top of that list, Napier or McGuire or whoever. And I couldn't say you're a liar because, I mean, we don't know right now. So, yeah, it'll be very interesting here these next couple of years to see how this historical cycle really shook out and what kind of shockwaves it sent through the rest of college football at a very unique time in the sport.
All right, we'll take a break right here. We'll come back, wrap up the 3 o'clock hour. Then when we come back at 4 o'clock, Mitch Thompson of MCC joins us to talk Grand Junction, the JUCO World Series. They're there again, the defending champs. This is Sick'em 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
Welcome back, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak. And Craig, the Mavericks ended the road last night. Not surprising. I thought last night's game was a bit more of a valiant effort than some of the other ones they lost, but I think that if you look at the season as a Mavericks fan overall, you have to be pretty pleased that they've gotten to places that's been a long time since they've been there.
Yeah, I mean, best team in Texas, and they, have had their trade-off with that, over the last few years. They were really deep into it with the Spurs there for a while, and the Spurs, as we know, have kind of fallen off. The Rockets are clearly a very young team trying to build back up after, the Harden affair and all of that. So, they're clearly the shining team in the state right now, which is good, but one of the shining teams in the NBA right now, which is even better, and they should remain that way so long as they've got number 77 leading the charge. You clearly have some moves, especially at the 5. I mean, they need some help down low in a major way. I think that became very obvious throughout the playoffs of that being a weakness of theirs. But, they developed a really good team throughout the course of the last few months and certainly surpassed any expectations that I had. I mean, I definitely thought that this should be a playoff team, but, going all the way to the conference finals, I didn't see that coming. I had no no idea that that's what we were in store for. So, yeah, certainly surpassed my expectations and made me feel like I did back in, the early 2010s when they were doing that kind of thing on a regular basis. And ultimately when they won their first and only title, it didn't quite have that feel to it. Like I was never expecting them to keep on going, but got to give it up to the Warriors. They're obviously a very good team. If they raise the trophy, no one will be shocked. And it'll be interesting to see, how the finals play out. But they were deserving. Mavs lost to a better team ultimately, but they've got, very little to hang their heads about. I know Mark Cuban, very quickly had a tweet last night, saying thanks to all the Mavericks fans. And I think everybody kind of saw the writing on the wall after the first couple of games, even with that Game 4 win. I think everybody kind of saw the writing on the wall when the Warriors went up 3-0. But it was nice to at least have that one win so you didn't get swept and just completely embarrassed. But last night, just very little surprise. I mean, I wasn't anticipating them making it 3-2 and really making it interesting, being back in Golden State. So kind of how I figured it would play out. And that's okay because they went a lot farther than I expected, and I enjoyed the ride.
I wonder now what free agency will look like for them because they've always been that team that guys seem to threaten, like, I'll just go here and not pay state income tax. And then they get what they want from the team in L.A. or New York or wherever they're going to go,
Yeah, no, I mean, they've been very hit or miss in terms of free agency. I mean, what happens with Jalen Brunson? That's a big question mark. But, yeah, I mean, you got to put some more talent around Luka. I think they clearly had shooters this year that, complimented him well. But the only thing was it was very feast or famine at times. Like when those shots were falling, it was fantastic and, you loved watching it. But when those shots are a little bit off, it could be a long night for you. And it became a lot more difficult to try and keep up or win a ball game. So they were a little bit feast or famine in that regard outside of Luka. Obviously, as I mentioned, they got to get better down low. But they're not that far off. I mean, obviously, they made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals with this team, but they're going to look different, absolutely. I mean, again, Brunson, for one, is a question of what happens with him. But they're not a big draft team. They never have been with Mark Cuban. I typically just don't even I pay attention to it, but I don't really get all that excited when the draft rolls around because they typically, outside of like Luka, I mean, Luka was an exception, but this is the same team that was drafting Wang Zhuzhu and like Satnam Singh and just random players internationally because they really did not give a damn about the draft. And then again, they weren't really always picking that high either, but when they did get that chance to pick high, they got Luka and changed the entire course of the franchise. I don't know how much they changed through the draft this year. I don't even know what their picks will even look like. But, free agency will be the focus and what that looks like in terms of who walks out the door. And
keeping Jalen Brunson would be a big deal. So.
Yeah, but he's made himself some money throughout this playoff run, and I know there will be a lot of teams interested in him. So that's a big question mark. But outside of that, yeah, I'm not really sure what their track is or who their targets may be. But NBA free agency is always a pretty wild ride. So hopefully the Mavs are a part of that wild ride and get better because, like I said, they're knocking on the door. They just need a little bit more to put them over the top, but they've got one of, if not the best young superstar in the game right now, locked down. So as long as 77's there and doing his thing, they're going to be a fun team to watch.
All right, well, I don't want to take a break just yet. Craig, I need your opinion on this. I think I missed a chance to. This has nothing to do with sports, but I wanted your opinion. Maybe Garrett's as well. Jack, doesn't give me any kind of good feedback or anything, so I don't care what he says. But today I was at Starbucks. And you could do the mobile order, which is very convenient. So you can, go and pick. So I'm waiting for our drinks to get made. And there's a guy who's standing by the exit, like right by the door. And everybody who walks by him kind of says like, hey, buddy, you got to move from the door. And then it comes my turn to get my cups, and I ask him to move from the door. And he moves slightly out of the way. And I'm a husky dude. And husky's the nicest thing I can say about myself that way. And the door is spring-loaded, and kind of hits back, and I spill a little coffee on me. And I had all these things to say to this guy about blocking the door, but then I just swallowed my pride and walked off. Should I have done that, or should I have taken the moment to educate the guy on the etiquette of moving away from the door, which he had plenty of room to do?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'd have to kind of be.
I thought about it all the way home. I thought about it all day.
Yeah, I'd kind of have to be in that position and see exactly what happened to know for sure. But yeah, that's a question that we all get posed sometimes. I mean, chances are in today's society he's just an asshole and doesn't care that he was in the way because people somehow think that's tough and cool or they're being badasses. I don't know what this weird this thing is with people these days about screw manners. I'm just be big badass guy and do what I want to do. Like it's just so there's like a human contract, man.
Yeah.
You know, and you just move out of the freaking way. You're not proving anything. You're not a badass. Just get out of the way. Just get out of the way because, if it was you trying to get through, I'd get out of the way. Not because I'm backing down or anything like that, because it's just the thing that you're supposed to do. It's part of the human contract. So, I don't know, man. I see people acting out and acting hard and acting this and that. And there's more than a few occasions where, I definitely have wanted to say something or maybe even do more than that. But ultimately, it's just not really worth it.
I feel like I missed my Larry David moment. I really do.
I know.
But Garrett, what should I have done?
I mean, logically, I think you did the right thing. Now, what would have been fun to do is, toss the coffee in his face and be like, tell him, I mean, to me, I think Craig brings up a good point. It's all about reaction, right? It's somebody, they do this stuff for reaction and they want people to put everything on social media. Let's get famous, but yeah, I think you handled it properly. Ideally, yeah, I mean, throw some coffee in his face. Let him have it.
I just wonder, what would have happened. But I thought about the guy all day. I'll probably think about him. I saw a lady, not an old lady, at the grocery store 6 months ago, just leave a cart in the space right next to her, and the space right next to that space was the cart roundup.
That's ridiculous.
And I really want to say something to her, but she was 300 yards away. Or it felt like that. It was long enough away where it would have been really awkward. But I think about that lady every night before I go to sleep.
Hell, man, people can't even do the courtesy of holding open a door anymore.
Yeah.
Or even say thank you if you do it. It's look at you why are you holding the door? It's just the human contract, man. It's just the common courtesy. And it's not a thing that you really think about. You just do it if you were raised the right way. But there are clearly a lot of people out there that weren't raised very well. I mean, no manners, no respect, and no regard for anybody but themselves. I think that's clear when you read the headlines that there's a lot of people way too consumed with the little world that they live in inside their head and not the actual world outside of their head. And that's a shame. But I guess when you stay your head buried in a phone or buried in a laptop and you never look up, then when you get out in the real world, you don't know how to function. So I feel sorry for some ways for those people. And then, like I said, they're just assholes too. And I've never really understood that approach. So I can't tell you what was going through that guy's head. But yeah, there's a lot of times I wish I would have done differently than maybe I did, but sometimes you just let things go and move on with your life because that person's not worth it.
I thought after the first time he'd be a bit oops, I didn't realize I was by the door. No, and he just went back there.
I can't believe you tried to go through the door, while he was clearly standing there. I mean, gosh, what were you doing, Paul?
Yeah. Just, trying to get through the method of egress. But anyway, when we come back, Mitch Thompson, live from Grand Junction, Colorado. This is Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. In a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfect pizza. Bob Mock has owned Marco's Pizza franchises since 2013 and has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in the Waco area, in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Order at marcos.com to make any moment better. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Looks to continue the dynasty, and the Bears do it again. Yet another sack. That is their 9th of the night.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak.
Welcome back in Sikkim 365 Radio, Sikkim365.com. Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina. Smokey's gone today. He's got a little back issue that he's had to get checked out the last couple of days, like a back hip thing. So he's getting that worked on. He'll be back on Tuesday. Of course, we'll be off on Monday for Memorial Day, but we do appreciate y'all joining us. And yes, I did see the comment on the swear jar. I put my donation into there after my comments a second ago, but there's really no other way to describe some of the people Paul was describing, so I had to do it.
Yeah, no, but Mitch Thompson joins us now. Mitch, I'll just ask you before you get into baseball. I was at Starbucks today, and there was a guy blocking the door for 4 different people, didn't move. And then when I left, I spilled coffee on myself because of this guy. I feel like I missed my shot to teach him some etiquette because I just drove on, and I've been thinking about it all day. What would you have done in that situation?
Man, I don't know.
Hey,
first off, I don't make enough money to go to Starbucks.
There you go. Same.
Starbucks. What are you even talking about?
Well, look, you're in Grand Junction again. We got to talk to MCC about at least getting you a gift card. So,
okay, it's a Starbucks. I'll learn about it. Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Yeah, but you guys are there again. You've got people who are back. You've been there. How much is the experience factor helping the team approach this season?
Well, I think it helps me a lot, at least, and then I feel like I can prepare the kids a little bit more for what's coming and what to do. And you know, it's good that we've been able to be out here 3 days now to get kind of acclimated to the altitude. And
practice at both practice facilities that we're going to be using during the tournament before, pregame BP and stuff. So it's, I think having experience is valuable. For us as coaches, we just don't have very many players that were here last year. Probably, less than 10. And so everything we can give them to try and help prepare them helps us out.
Coach, what do you feel like has been kind of the summary of this team this year? What has been their story in your eyes?
Well, they've been unbelievable as far as showing up every day and competing, showing up every day and working. Their goal has been to get back here to Grand Junction and to go back to back. And we've had to fight for it. We played a really good schedule. But we've done it a different way this year. Our pitching last year with Logan Henderson at the top was unbelievable. And we've had really good starting pitching, and we're deep on the mound. Our pitching's been good. But our offense has been totally different this year. We don't have a team that could stand up there at home plate and just bang the ball out of the yard. We've had to be a team that draws walks, strikes out less, puts the ball in play, steals more bases. And it's been interesting that, for a team that has probably hit 40 less doubles than last year's team and struck out or hit 30 less home runs, we've actually scored more runs. And, because our on-base percentage is better, we're striking out less, we're walking more. So it's been fun to watch the guys kind of evolve into being the team that grinds out pitchers and gets the quality starters out of the game so we can beat up on the bullpen. It's been a lot of fun.
How much does that style give you an advantage in that it's not a style that you see throughout multiple levels of baseball anymore? Because people are trying to, if you're trying to get to the major leagues, what they're talking about right now is strikeouts and home runs. Like if you can do those two things, you're going to go. It's not getting creative like it used to be.
Well, and those things will be big out here in Grand Junction still, no question about it. Strikeouts and home runs will be big because, it's really dry out here, so the field's going to be a little hard. And the ball just flat jumps. And, when you're talking about, left field at Suplizio Field is 302 feet, 350 something in the gaps. The ball's going to jump out of here pretty good. So getting ground balls, making routine outs, still playing the game of baseball is going to be huge. But our guys will hit some balls out of the yard here that may not have gotten out of the ballpark at home for sure.
What's the difference in being at home or being around the state of Texas versus being on a trip? Are you able to enjoy kind of the camaraderie aspect of it? Is it pretty much all focused on the games themselves?
Oh, we got real close on that 17-hour bus ride here.
I bet.
Yeah, closer than we want to be, I think. Our guys are tight, and we definitely are enjoying the trip. We're enjoying the ride. I mean, you have to really appreciate the experience when you get here. You're in one of the final 10 teams in the country. You've won your district. You have a chance to be elite. You have a chance to win it. And at the beginning of the year, if anybody say, "Hey, you're going to go to Grand Junction," we'd all take it. So this is where we're at, and now we're going to try and do something with the opportunity that we have.
What's the best way to pass a 17-hour bus ride with 30 people?
Well, I'll tell you what we did. We broke it up in about 4 or 5 hour sections. We'd go 4 hours, we'd get out, we'd practice, we'd jump back in, we'd go 4 or 5 more hours. Now where we're going to go, where we're going to spend the night. We get something good to eat. We spend the night. We get up, go 4 hours, we practice again, and kind of lay it out that way. It wasn't terrible. The ride home is always worse, even if the trophy's sitting next to you. On the way home, coming out, we all have anticipation and excitement, and when you finally get to close enough to the mountains, you can see them, and then get in the mountains. It's pretty cool to listen to those kids talk about. There's so many of them that have never even been to this part of the country ever before, and so it's a lifetime experience for them.
Where did you see your new leaders from the team really grow up from? The guys who were not there last year.
Well, I mean, our three captains are Will Karsten, Izzy Lopez, and Hank Bard, and all three of those guys were with the club last year. And so those guys have helped to kind of keep the culture going. And, but here at the junior college, we have to rebuild our culture every year. And so it just starts in practice, and it starts in the recruiting process. I give our assistant coaches a ton of credit, for all the work that done in helping us to recruit the players and evaluate the players right and get the guys that are our type of guys, So many times I think in college baseball you recruit the wrong players just based upon some stat or some video or something that you see that, this guy's a 90-mile-an-hour arm, but, he's not going to be somebody you want to be around. So, our coaches have done a great job with that, and I think we're able to kind of weed through some of the mess and eliminate it before it even starts. So what we end up getting is a bunch of baseball playing fools who love it, eat it, drink it, sleep it, can't get enough of it, who want to go to class and make grades and who are good kids. And it's kind of been the model that I followed, my entire career, and that's what we're going to continue to do.
Coach, I know that a lot of the big topics in like college football, for example, haven't necessarily trickled down to the JUCO baseball level in terms of like NIL and all those types of things. But now there's discussion about baseball scholarships and having unlimited rather than the kind of arbitrary number that's been in college baseball for a while. What have been kind of your observations and just seeing the shifting landscape of college athletics, whether it be from the NIL side of things or other tweaks that are being made, for example, like the full scholarship, no cap aspect for teams?
Well, I think the full scholarship thing is something that's way overdue in college baseball. And, I think if a school doesn't want to do it, then fine, don't do it. Just get your butt kicked by the other guys who are going to do it. But I think that our kids in college baseball have forever deserved, the same opportunities that a football or basketball player would get as far as that. And that baseball is a revenue sport. If you do it right, you draw crowds and you take care of your business, I think you can come out of it pretty good financially. So I think full scholarships are something that's way overdue. I'll hope and pray that happens, at some point in time. But yeah, college baseball is kind of a little bit of a mess at times, just because nobody has any patience anymore. And stick around and wait and help a kid develop and turn into the guy that he could be. We recruit them, and if they can't help us as freshmen, then they go in the transfer portal and they go find somewhere else to go play. And it's kind of a mess from both ends. So we've got kids that aren't willing to stick it out and continue to battle and to grow up while they're at a place. So we've got schools and coaches that run kids out of the program way before they ought to be run out of the program. I think if you do your work recruiting, you recruit the kids that fit your program, you recruit kids that you see them enough that and then you get them into your program and you help them grow up and turn into the men that you want them to be.
How much easier will it make it, though, on a sport like baseball or softball? Any of the sports that were the equivalency sports, or what they call them, where you wouldn't have to worry about, sometimes kids may have to leave because they're in a school that's too expensive and then go somewhere in that 11.86 scholarships or whatever it was and get a little bit more.
No question. It would eliminate the finances from the equation, where now you're going to pick the school for where's the best fit, where's the best opportunity, who are the coaches I believe, who are the coaches that I know believe in me, and I've developed a relationship to trust them. And I think you'd end up having a whole lot less problems. But when we're trying to nickel and dime and squeeze every penny out of every scholarship, and get the kid for the minimum that you can give him, and sometimes it ends up causing hardships. If one school's offering a kid a scholarship and it still leaves him $30,000 to pay, and another school's offering him a walk on and he could walk home for $10,000, where's the best opportunity? Well, it might be at the school that's offering a scholarship because they obviously have need for you, but financially you might be limited as a kid that you just can't even think about doing that. So you've got to, I think the full ride scholarship thing would be a real plus for college baseball, and it would it'd make it more about the people, which rather than more about the money.
Coach, you got San Jac North to kick off the tournament there in Grand Junction. Obviously you're pretty familiar with those guys. What are your thoughts on that matchup, and also just any observations on the rest of the field that you see as well?
Well, I think the field is really loaded. I think that there were very few upsets across the country. The teams that were ranked in the final NJCAA poll, you just start going down the line, boom, 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 boom. They're all, they're here. I think if you took the average win-loss record for every team here added everybody's wins up together and added everybody's losses up together. I think the average team here is 50-11. So, we're 49-11-1. So we're right there. But I think it's an extremely deep field with really, really quality teams. Playing San Jack is nothing new. We've played them every year out here. We play them every year during the season. They know us. We know them. It'll come down to how the kids perform and who performs best and makes fewest mistakes. But when there's 9 other teams that you could play, you probably don't want to travel 1,200 miles to play, San Jack. You don't have to.
Right.
You'd like to let it happen in the bracket. Maybe it happens 3 games in the winner's bracket rather than pitting us against each other right off the bat. And somebody's going in the losing bracket.
Well, Mitch, good luck, and we'll talk to you again soon. Oh, yeah.
I got another question. It's kind of combined. I mean, there's a lot going on right now at MCC. You've got I noticed a retweet about Bill Brock's hire, a few weeks back, but also some field improvements coming your way as well.
We've been really blessed. Our administration's been unbelievable in stepping up and seeing the need, and our foundation's gone out and raised money and helped put me in front of people that can help us do these neat things. We're going to turf and light our facilities, padded outfield wall. We're taking our baseball facilities to another level, which is going to do nothing but continue to, give us a shot to be excellent from here on out in years to come. And so I'm very grateful for all those people that have helped make that happen. And you're right, Bill Brock coming aboard. I mean, how excited could our girls be, in junior college baseball to have a guy with Bill Brock's experience come in here and help lead the program. And I won't be surprised at all if Bill's not winning national championships soon. Chris Berry over in softball is competing for a national championship. Mm-hmm. They're down to they're going to be in the championship game now. So, good things are happening. There's no question. I think it all starts with people. You get the right people in place. And they seem to attract the right kids to come play for you, and it kind of works.
And congratulations, your daughter graduating from Baylor a couple of weeks ago, huh?
Really excited about that. Both my girls are Baylor grads. My wife still works over there at Baylor. We got strong ties to the place. Great school, and we'll love that place. And yeah, my girls are Baylor Bears for life. There's no question about that. So that's cool.
Well, Mitch, good luck. We'll talk to you again soon. Enjoy Grand Junction and good and I don't know if I'm happy you get to see a familiar team first or whatever. I mean, it's Grand Junction. It's tough either way.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you or I or either one of us are happy or sad either way. It's the way it is. So ding ding. Yeah, no, it's a great opportunity, and who could ask for more? We'll play in front of 10,000 people here on Saturday night, on opening night here, so it'll be an incredible environment. What a great experience for our kids.
All right, and when you come back, we're going to Starbucks. My treat.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate you, buddy. Bye-bye.
All right. Mitch Thompson, MCC baseball coach with us here on SicEm 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Longtime assistant under Steve Smith at Baylor, has done amazing things at McLennan Community College. The JUCO World Series is a real cool event, and they're there. I mean, they're defending champs right now. They've been a couple times since he's been there. He is doing
won it last year.
Yeah, so yeah, they're dominating. He's a fantastic recruiter. I do wonder, and I waited till we hung up the phone. I've heard a couple. I mean, when jobs open up the last couple years, Mitch's name opens up. Kansas baseball, I think, is open, right? Kansas is open. He's going to get calls. I think it's probably just, for him, it's, is it going to be better than what you got going at MCC?
Yeah, he's got a pretty good thing going. I mean, just making a jump up's not always the best thing to do. But, it wouldn't shock me at all to hear his name brought up like it typically is when some jobs open up. I mean, he's at a level of success that he's had year in and year out. And, they're a fun program to track. I mean, JUCO baseball doesn't necessarily get a whole lot of attention, but if you lived around this area, you understand why MCC breaks that mold and why they do get a good amount of attention, because they are a year in and year out incredible program. And it's always fun talking to him, whether it be about his team or just other things, in baseball, kind of like the scholarship limits that we were talking about a few moments ago. He's always got some great insight as well. So good to talk to him for the first time in a while, and best of luck to MCC as they try to defend their crown.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've been rolling along. I for one, I've been a college baseball fan. When I was at FSU, they're really good. They never won the College World Series, and in spite of getting there a bunch of times, I mean it's well. But I know people who had to think about there were, especially back then, the states that were doing the lottery scholarships for college could go recruit baseball players that were really good and say here, we can give you 25% under our allotment of less than 12 total full scholarships. And so they could do that. And then 75% of your school is covered because you have grades under the lottery scholarship program. So they could do that, but other schools suffered. I know a guy who had to bounce to a different school because, after a year, he was like, man, I'm getting, at the end of the day, what amounts to my books and half of my meals paid for, and that's it. And, I've got to take out loans. They're taking out loans to go play baseball. And that wasn't, a winning combination for him and his family financially. So hopefully they will do it. I think it's long overdue in all the sports, baseball, softball, whatever it is. If you can afford to do it as a school and you want to do it and you want to put the resources behind it, hell, do it. Let's go. Get these kids on full scholarship.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they're planning on doing. He's got to get the rule passed, but I think it's pretty clear that there's a lot of programs that are going to go full bore and give full rides, and there will be others, like he said, that if they want to compete, they'll do it too, and if not, then they'll fall to the wayside. Pretty simple. All you got to do is make it official, and I don't know how long that process is going to take, but yeah, it's always been kind of wonky the way baseball scholarships work, and now it looks like that's on its way out, and as he said, it's probably overdue.
When we come back in a replay, Baylor has some big news. Adam Flagler back again from the out of the NBA draft. Hear what that journey was like for him, what he learned, and what he brings back to Baylor. Next, this is Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
At Allen Samuels, we're bringing great savings during the Memorial Day sales event on the award-winning, year-after-year new 2022 Ram 1500. Get up to $7,000 in total values or $2,500 bonus cash and 0% for 60 months. These great deals are for a limited time only at Allen Samuels in Waco. First responders get $500 extra cash. Come shop the huge new car and truck inventory today.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Engel at the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Brad Boozer, Boozer Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. This is a great time for your business.
Exactly. And one other thing we do that a lot of people don't know is we buy jewelry, heirloom pieces, gold, silver bars, gold bullion, watches, anything you may have that you want to. If you don't want to use it and remake something like I did in a state yesterday and I looked at 35 pieces, well, they're probably going to sell me back 30 because it's something they're not going to wear, nothing to use. So if you're looking to get a few bucks or to sell something or something you just don't wear anymore, I make my wife go through her jewelry box about every 6 to 8 months, and the things that she doesn't wear on a daily basis, this sounds horrible, but I take away from her, and then I'll put in my estate counter, but then that gives me the chance to rebuy her something new moving forward. Instead of looking down 20 years down the road and you have 300 pieces of jewelry, it's something to refresh and make her buy something new along the way.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
We're now joined by Baylor guard Adam Flagler, who today announced that he's coming back. He entered the NBA draft, tested the waters, also was a guy that there was interest in, but decides to come back for another year. And Baylor rejoins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Adam, thank you, young man. We appreciate it. Baylor fans are thrilled. I'm sure Scott Drew and staff are thrilled. Are you thrilled?
Yes, I am. Thank you for having me. So excited to be able to talk and just interact. So glad to be here.
When did you know that today's decision was going to be this decision?
Probably about a week ago. Talking with my agents, talking with my family, I just felt like at the end of the day, this was the best decision for me to, better myself and get to where I want to be at the end of the day and last. So.
Adam, what did you learn at the NBA Combine? Because there's so much going on there. There's a lot of workouts, a lot of scouts you can talk to. What did you pick up?
Just learned how to be a professional at the end of the day. The whole draft process was, very educational for me in the sense that the amount of time you need to put on your body in the sense of, recovery, prehab, rehab, post workouts. Continuing to get that rehab to keep your body, because your body is your tool at the end of the day to get you where you want to be. So learning about that, learning more about my game, being able to compete, with the best of the best, it just was an amazing experience all in all.
Adam, the fact that you guys had the ability to have an agent to kind of help guide you through that process, the fact that you have the ability to declare and then still have that window to be able to come back. Whereas in the old days, you declare you're gone and there's certainly no agent involved. It's totally different. How beneficial do you feel like that aspect of it is, that you can go kind of seek some information out and you can have somebody guiding you, but you still at the end of the day have that decision to come back?
Oh, it's amazing. I'm so blessed for, the ability to be able to do that. A lot of guys are blessed at the end of the day because, this is a amazing experience, but it can be stressful at times, and guidance and everything that's going on is important. So being able to have somebody in your corner, like an agent, to communicate, to give you insight on what you're going to expect coming in, doing the interviews, doing these workouts, and to be able to decide from there whether or not to come back. It's just an amazing experience all in all, and I'm just glad that I was able to go through it and grow as a person.
Based on what we know about Scott Drew and the staff, all of them, everybody that's there, I'm sure they said, no, you need to find out whether it's you or Matthew Meyer, who's coming back, not to Baylor, but somewhere, or last year or 2 years ago or whatever else. What is the support level from them when you told them you want to go look around?
It's extreme support. They're in our corner regardless of what we do. And, I wanted to test the waters and go out there and see, what the NBA thought of me. And I got everything that I needed back, and I know what I need to do to get to that next level. But I know that the things that I've learned will be able to come back, be able to use and help and lead and communicate and get us to where we want to be at the end of the day, and that's the ability to win a national championship again. So,
Adam, I'm not even getting into the front court, but the back court coming back with you now, Keontae George coming in, Cryer's going to be back, Bonner another year. Some of those things. You guys, Langston Love is back, pretty lethal and deep back there, aren't you?
Definitely. It's exciting to be able to be a part of such a backcourt like that, and to be able to, give my knowledge in the sense of just the experience that I have, and be able to play with such a great group of guys. They're going to be able to, help me grow. I'm going to be able to help them grow. So all in all, we're going to be able to push each other to get to the level we want to be at.
Adam, what did the NBA tell you?
They told me, at the end of the day that, they see the scoring potential. They see, my shot making potential and how efficient I am as a scorer, but they do want to see me with the ball in my hand. They want me to continue to show that I am a combo guard. So, coming back, communicating with the coaching staff, as well as them, having ears out there and understanding what's going on. I felt like there was just the right situation to come back and be able to show that, so I can next time, around this time next year, I'll be able to, be getting drafted. So
you had to do that this year on occasion. Of course, James went down when he had his bruised tailbone, among others, and you yourself had to battle along with others. How much did last year, the experience of being the point guard, give you the confidence you could do it this year?
The opportunities that I did have, it was really just a testament to my abilities prior to, the coaching staff, I believe, wouldn't throw me out there to be a point guard if they haven't seen it already. We play against each other in practice. Me and James compete. Me, Davion, Maceo, Jared back then used to compete, and I used to play point guard at times. So I'm very comfortable in those opportunities. I just know that it'll be heightened this year, and I'll be able to show a lot more.
You mentioned some of those guys who have gone on to the pros. Obviously, Davion had a very successful year. Everybody else is kind of in the process of finding their footing. Have you been able to already sort of lean on some of those guys who have gone on to the pros to seek their advice?
Definitely. I've definitely been able to communicate with them and just stay in touch. And, they give us great insight on kind of the things that they have to go through and deal with. And, it's so important to be able to have that communication. And it gives you a step ahead in the sense when you are entering those fields and you are stepping out there and going to the NBA. I feel like I have an advantage already being able to talk to those guys.
What did Coach Drew, and was he the first one you called when you told him you were going to come back for another year?
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to call Coach Drew and notify him. And, we had a great conversation. It was super exciting. Super excited for the year to come and just can't wait.
How much, Adam, after the way things ended last year back in Fort Worth, how much does that still fuel you and everybody else?
Definitely a terrible taste in my mouth personally, but I know as a team and as a university, we definitely, wanted to go farther. So just having the opportunity again, definitely going to take advantage of it. And, we have the pieces, we have the veteranship, we have the youth as well. We have the coaching staff that have been through things. So all in all, we're super excited, and we definitely want to push and be further than we were, because I know we got knocked out extremely early in our odds. So.
Hey, the way you represent yourself, your family, those around you, the way you represent Baylor, the way you always have, and what you give the credit to is always inspirational, young man. And also, you're one hell of a basketball player. That just makes it even better. But we appreciate your time, and congratulations. Now you can kind of take a deep breath maybe and enjoy the next few days.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. You too. That's Adam Flagler, Baylor guard. That's one of the best people you'll know.
Cars priced right both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Erie Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
Welcome back. Thanks to Mitch Thompson. Of course, you heard from Adam Flagler. That was a couple days ago when he decided to come back. We talked a little earlier about Matthew Meyer. Still has the decision making where he's going to transfer to, but he's not coming back to Baylor.
Nope.
So
his days are done.
Yeah. And look, they filled that spot. And like I said earlier, I think part of it was just the plan. I mean, when you like long-term roster planning with Matthew Meyer out, I don't think they ever thought he was going to be there anyway. So they had to move on without him. And, you know, that's where Caleb Lohner and Jalen Bridges came in. And of course you have to hold that spot for Flagler because he's your best player coming back for sure. And you certainly want him because he's the leader of the team. Craig, earlier in the show, we were talking about, I don't know, it wasn't in the show. We were talking about during a break about, you know, after the coaching segment we did about who's recruiting well. And right now it's kind of an interesting time as you go into the summer, into the next year. And Garrett, hop on because you're a recruiting guy on this as well. But there are some interesting teams nationally, like Texas Tech, Northwestern, even Baylor, who's not normally high up in the recruiting rankings, really kind of rolling through and doing well nationally right now. Now, is that the same come February? I don't know.
I mean, I think it's going to take some time. I feel like
right now Baylor's in a good position. Texas Tech, I feel, is kind of skewed. When you look at Texas Tech's 2023 class, you have 20 commits. You're obviously first in the Big 12. You're ranked in the top 10 in the nation as well. I think that's one of those where in a couple of months you're going to look back and the Red Raiders are going to be further down the list. Obviously, your Bamas are going to rise. Even keep an eye on Miami. I think that what Mario Cristobal can do down there with NIL can really lead that 2023 class as well. But right now, it's hard to really put a lot of stock into what you're looking at when you see these 2023 classes, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the top 10. Notre Dame's number 1. They got 13 commits. And then Tech 2, they got 20. I mean, they got 7 more than the closest one. I mean, the rest of the top 10, 12, 10, 11, 8, 14 for Northwestern. Why is Northwestern in the top 10? Because they've got 14 commits at this point. So there's a lot of weight placed on the number of guys. And then the ones who have lower numbers but are still relatively ranked high, who only have 6 or 7, well, that's the teams that have like the high per player average. So, you kind of look at both. If a team has a lower amount of commits but they're highly ranked, then they're getting bang for their buck per player. If a team's ranked high and they've got 20 commits, well, 20 is part of the reason why they're ranked so high. So it can be a little bit misleading, but, not to deny in any way that Tech's, doing a great job in recruiting and filling up their class. I think the new rules benefit them. We might see them just nudge a few guys out the door to, add some more scholarships if you're going to have this whole no cap thing to where as long as you stay at 85. I think we'll see. And I think Max Olson even wrote an article the other day about how coaches are now finding ways to empty their rosters and basically push players into the transfer portal. So, that's somewhat of an unintended consequence. It's great for the coaches who just want to, get over that recruiting bust and replace that guy with somebody who can help them easier. But it's another thing where I don't think the players or those who are basically looking out for the best interests of the players, I don't think they realize that every move being made is not exactly in their favor. And, that scholarship, as much as we talk about, I think it kind of sucks that a player could sign somewhere and then a year later be joining another team in the conference. I hate that. But at the same time, they're going to probably reach a point where you sign that scholarship, and that scholarship, even though it never technically was 4-year guaranteed no matter what you're, but close enough to it, that's not going to be as much of a guarantee anymore, because now the transfer portal and just the new rules of moving around and all that, you're going to see a lot of coaches that take the scholarship cap off they're not going to be as patient. They talk about players not having patience. I don't think the coaches are going to be as patient either, at least in some cases. And they're going to say, well, this guy's clearly, he's going to take too long. Boom, get him out of here. We got to replace him with somebody else.
Yeah, well, and part of the other thing is that with the way that coaching – the coaching carousel is spinning so fast right now, and you've got coaches that are going to, hot places really quickly. So let's just use Lincoln Riley to USC, Brent Venables to Oklahoma. And now Brent Venables wasn't really in the position where he could shove a lot of guys off the roster right away because a lot of them left, but Lincoln Riley was, he absolutely was. And so he can go to USC and be like, oh, look, things are changing. You're not a guy we would have recruited. You're best getting the transfer portal, and he can recruit 40 guys if he wants to. He can transfer in 25 more and completely remake the roster in a whole year. And the kids didn't. That's what I know the transfer portal's for. But you could be sitting there thinking, oh, sweet, Lincoln Riley's coming here. Well, if Lincoln Riley doesn't like you, then it didn't matter. If he wouldn't have recruited you in the first place, then especially if you're in a position of where he doesn't feel they have a strong need, like they're a little bit deep there and they can get by without you, see you later. So things can spin not everything is for them. It's not that's why I think that people are saying let's get some just overall bumpers on this thing, because it's just a teeter-totter this way and that way. It's not balanced.
No, it's not. It's just it is what it is. You can't have everything your way. It certainly seemed like that was going to be the case for the players. I mean, most of the decisions being made were all beneficial to them, and I just don't know that change without slowing down and kind of taking a breath after some of these changes is really the best course of action, because all of a sudden you're going to look up and it's going to be a pile of unintended consequences. As good as maybe those decisions seemed at the time. But when you add them all together, it's a bit combustible. So, yeah, I mean, the coaches have, everybody talks about these coaches and their contracts, but they also have they might have buyouts, and that prevents some of maybe, getting fired after 1 year or maybe even after 2 years. But there is always that risk that they're on the hot seat as well. So now the rosters basically are, and, that's equal, I guess. I guess we're moving towards equality because the roster spots as on much ice as a coaching spot is, except for the coaching spot does have that buyout aspect to it normally. But Garrett, do you notice when you're talking to recruits now, is like there any difference in the way that guys are talking about how they're choosing their schools and things like that because of NIL? Like, do you see anything that's at least noticeable in that regard?
That's a question I've been asking a lot of recruits is when you're looking at your schools, how much of an importance or how much role does NIL play in that? Like, are you looking for a school as far as I want to go, all right, for Baylor, for example, right? Like, we know Baylor isn't ever really going to match NIL on the grand scheme with your Bamas and your A&Ms and them. But if you do come to Baylor, while you don't get that NIL money, you're going to get developed, right? Like, I think Coach Aranda and this staff have proven that they could develop. So it's a matter of balancing that if you're an athlete. Like, do you want to go somewhere and full intentional say, I want to be in the NFL. I know I need to work on this, and I'll put the money to the side right now. If I get it, great. But I think that's really kind of a fine line, and it really depends on the type of player as well. It's kind of a tricky, slippery slope. But regarding the players I talk to, for 9 times out of 10, NIL hasn't been that big of a focal point at the moment.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of the boogeyman in the media. But as we kind of have to remind ourselves, we're talking about, 10 or 15 players that have really gotten some crazy deal that we're aware of? I mean, it's not like it's everybody on every roster by any means, not even close to that. So, yeah, I'm just curious of, like, how much, because you used to talk to a recruit and be like, I like the uniforms. I like the facilities. I like the coach. And now I just wonder how often it's, like, I don't care about any of that. Like, how much money am I going to get? Let's just cut to the chase. And I think for maybe some of the top-tier blue-chip guys, like, it's not that simple, but it is more of a factor than it ever was before. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and I think it's going to be one of the things kind of like the transfer portal where a lot of guys hop into the transfer portal and expect 25 calls, and then they sit there.
Yeah, well, there's some guys that, I mean, just dense decision-making because you should have known going in that you were not ever going to have 25, I mean, there's guys getting in that have no business getting into the transfer portal unless they just had absolutely no other choice. And, those aren't probably very recognizable names. You know what I mean? Because maybe it was rare, or maybe they beat the odds and even getting where they were to begin with, and there's some adjustment. I think there's natural adjustment with the transfer portal of guys who were maybe D1 that really should have been D2, or guys who are D2 didn't get noticed but really should have been D1. I think it's really great for at least balancing that out. But yeah, there are some head scratching decisions from guys that it clearly just seems like they're just getting in there because of, like, the adrenaline rush immediately and the hopes that, a bunch of people are going to be calling. But again, it kind of all goes back to, that there's that big group of the NIL type of guys, and then there's that group of really good players, and then there's a whole group that's taking up a lot of space that really have no business being in there, quite frankly.
Yeah. Garrett, do you get the sense when you talk to recruits as well that there's less trepidation about their choice because of the transfer portal?
I mean, I think so, because going into the situation now, like, you can go and say, I want to go to school X, and you go there, and if it doesn't, I think you're more in line to take a risk knowing that if it doesn't work out, you have that option. Whereas in the past, you would have to sit out a year or something. So I think it's something they could take advantage of. But at the same time, I really think it really depends on personality to personality, family, and even kind of going back to the transfer portal and players going in. I think a lot of that sometimes is outside influences, right?
Yes.
Like, even the recruits now, you deal with handlers, private coaches. There's so much information that these guys are getting. And I think a lot of the time, like, say you commit somewhere and you flip your commitment because of a friend or something. I think it's a lot of bad information, man. And that's the one benefit of the transfer portal. If you are a player who bought into that and you get into the situation and realize, oh, man, I'm in over my head, this was a bad move, you have that option. That is a nice option, but it's really just a balancing act.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear because, I only talk to recruits when they've committed somewhere and we're here or we're at midway and they're, it's my guy of the week and he's getting recruited. So at that point, I don't know. So, but like, it's interesting to see how it is changing and all that. But yeah, Craig, you made a good point earlier about like, we're talking about 15 guys with huge deals. Now there might be 15 more who can go get them after they go in and, play their way up to it because they're all of a sudden a star. But, the ones who you're talking about are, what's the kid's name? The Tennessee, the $8 million guy, apparently.
I am Eliava or whatever the hell his name. He asked me to name the most difficult name in college football, like Smith. Nico I am Eliava or however you pronounce his name. No disrespect, but yeah, I mean it's changed things. I mean, clearly it's changed things, and you adjust or you adapt or die. I mean, simple as that. But adapting doesn't have to be, it's all about offering up big money. I think Dave Aranda's finding a unique way to adapt, and a lot of others are as well. And the ones that are having to do that and can't just spend big paychecks again, kind of like the players getting NIL deals. We talk about the same 10 to 15 guys, if it's even that much. But the Jordan Addisons and the Quinn Ewers and those guys. But, I don't know, there's 3,000 other players that are out there that are maybe making $50 off a local, ad or whatever. So it's not like the nightmare scenario that everybody's made it out to be just because Jordan Addison, Biletnikoff winner, can make, $3 million somewhere. Now, there are levels, especially in basketball, there's guys making millions before they leave high school. That's a little weird, but I know it's based on potential. So, for the haves, it's a great thing, and then there's a lot of other people that wish they were in that group and maybe don't have as realistic of a view on kind of the way things work, and that's why you see some bad decisions or some bad influences leading guys into the transfer portal thinking it's the best, and it's clearly not maybe the best decision. But, to each their own, a lot of different scenarios and factors in play, but, it's an interesting balancing act that you have to toy with if you're coaches and players right now.
Roger Dodger on the chat room. All the USC players that Lincoln Riley asked to leave the team were guaranteed their scholarships. Were told they weren't a football scholarship anymore, or they can enter the portal.
Max Olson wrote about that. It's a little loophole,
But even though I was using him as an example, I mean, I don't know how many. He could have told 3 guys that. I don't know how many.
No, I think he told a few.
Yeah, but. Yeah, I mean, how many he did, but I was just using it as an example. If you get a new place, Brian Kelly had to rebuild a whole roster, because a lot of guys were in the portal. A lot of guys, he kind of, told them, look at this. Door number 1 is the portal. Door number 2 is the portal. Door number 3 is also the portal. It has many doors. Go there, because that's what LSU brought him in to do, was rebuild that team, soup to nuts. I mean, so. He kind of told them, and then he went in the portal and he's gotten 12 to 15 guys out of there.
Well, I don't think they're I don't have a problem with a situation like that where it's a new coach coming in and he's got to find his guys. But if you're somebody who's been there and you're just saying, all right, well, hit the streets because I want to replace you with this other guy, I kind of have a problem with it, especially if it's a player who is really put all of everything they had into that university, and just because they're not to the same level as the new guy you're looking at, they get tossed to the wayside. I kind of have more of a problem with that than necessarily a new coach coming in, finding the right fits for his system.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to be able to run the offense he wants to. If you're running a totally different type of offense or something that's not going to fit, then you got to do what's best for you because you're on a clock. I mean, the moment you take over that job, Brian Kelly's on the clock right now. He might have some security through his contract. He might have a mega buyout, but bottom line is it doesn't matter about all that. He's got to win and win quickly, and there will only be so much patience for that. So if that means that, hey, the quickest way to winning is to basically get rid of these guys, that's what he's got to do. I mean, it's his team now. Those players he didn't recruit. So again, for all the good, there is some downside for players and for coaches in this scenario. It's not everybody's just an outright winner no matter what. So yeah, players can now make money, but they can now actually, get pushed off to the side a little bit quicker perhaps as well. And then there's the transfer portal to be a parachute for a lot of those guys. But yeah, it's an interesting time, that's for sure. Very interesting. And you're going to see a lot of, interesting approaches, whether it be Dave Aranda's, that's, quite different from, let's say, like a Lane Kiffin's, or, how Brian Kelly does it compared to, how Lincoln Riley does it or whatever. But, the transfer portal and NIL and all that, it's made things spicy. It's made things a lot more interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's certainly a new world. We'll take a break right here a little bit early because we're going to play Linda Livingstone. That's a long interview. We got to talk to President Livingstone the other day. A lot going on at Baylor, a lot going on in the NCAA, of which she is a part of the Transformation Committee. If you missed that interview, it's coming up next. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, got a lot of great deals going on right now at Richard Carr, and they are the people you can count on. If you want to get in a new vehicle right away or as quickly as possible, we'll get your name on their inbound vehicle list. It's basically like putting your name in line or standing in line, grabbing and securing your place in that line to be next up whenever the new car, truck, or SUV that you're desiring finally makes it over to the dealership. And that's taking a little bit longer than everybody would like right now because of chip issues, supply chain issues, and all of that. But to ensure that you can get your car as quickly as possible over at Richard Carr, then get your name on that inbound vehicle list. But if you are looking for a car sooner than waiting on that inbound vehicle list for the brand new rides, they've got plenty of premium pre-owned cars and trucks as well. Dozens of cars and trucks that are quality pre-owned. All of their pre-owned vehicles go through a 172-point inspection, so you can drive them with peace of mind, and they will pay top dollar on your trade with dozens of lending options. Richard Carr says yes to loans when others say no, so go online or come by to check out their inventory today. And Richard Carr has been serving Waco since 23 years ago, celebrating 23 plus years in the area. The entire time they've offered award-winning service from their collision and service center, and they are the dealer you can count on for a great deal and superior service for the life of your car. So trust the good local people you can count on for 23 years in Central Texas. Again, looking to buy new, contact them, get your name on that inbound vehicle list. Looking to buy sooner, like today, like tomorrow, as soon as possible. Plenty of premium pre-owned cars and trucks to check out as well. Just talk to their people, and they will hook you up with a great deal. Richard Carr, run by proud Wacoans, proud Baylor Bears. Log on to richardcarr.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Brad Boozer, Boozer Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show, whether necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. The team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care.
And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Championship if you score in all likelihood. And perhaps the CFP. Jackson trying to turn the corner. And he did not get there. Darren McFay raced him to the pylon and made sure he came up inches short.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Learn more at richardcarr.com.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Imperial Excellent.
We are now joined by Baylor President Dr. Linda Livingstone on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Thank you very much, Linda, for being a part of the show. It's been almost 5 years, I believe, since you were introduced as the president. Can you even try to comprehend all you've seen, not just at Baylor, but also throughout college athletics in those 5 years?
Well, David, it's been quite a 5 years with so much happening, as you said, both on campus and around the country. But and I suspect, especially in college athletics, a lot more change in the next few years as well. It's a little hard to predict exactly where that's going, but we're glad to be able to be a part of it and have an influence on where it goes.
How much does your background of being a student athlete and now being an educator and in administration, how much do you think that gives you a little bit of an edge on maybe some others?
I certainly think it's an advantage because I sort of understand maybe at a bit deeper level, having been a student athlete, having a daughter that was a student athlete, kind of what's going on kind of from the inside out. And so much of what we're talking about is how we better support our student athletes, kind of comprehensively. And so having been one, having a daughter that's one, I think is absolutely important, in addition to my academic experience at several different types of universities. So I'm glad to be able to help as much as I can. These are hard issues and big challenges, but got a lot of good people working on it that care a lot about higher education and college athletics.
Dr. Livingstone, you were on the transformation committee of new governance in the NCAA. Obviously, the president's position is open, and before that job gets filled, people need to know what that job is going to be. And I'll just ask you, what do you think that job will be now compared to what it has been in the future?
Well, I think it's going to be a really important position going forward because I think we're going to continue to see change in college athletics, and part of what the new president will be responsible for is, helping to implement the new way of thinking that comes out of not just Division I, but Divisions 2 and 3, based on the new constitution for the NCAA. And I think there's going to continue to be, evolution in college athletics. We're certainly going to do everything we can to bring some focus and stability to it. But I don't think, this is never a done deal. In higher education and athletics, we always learn new things. There's always new issues that come up. So I think it's going to continue to be a really important job. It's going to be a very national job, one that requires someone that can really build relationships and engage broadly across the country with a lot of different constituencies. So, we're looking forward to working through that process and finding a great person to lead the NCAA going forward.
Through all of the issues that are being discussed right now and being sifted through, is there one that you feel is the paramount of concerns as opposed to maybe perhaps others that are important but not quite to the level of maybe one in particular?
Well, I think that the big question out there is kind of how we think about educational benefits for our student athletes going forward and what that's going to look like. And then what are the implications of that for schools? I think, the others that we're dealing with probably right now that are very visible and in the news a lot have to do with NIL and the transfer portal. And those are certainly important, and they're kind of messy right now. And, we're all trying to bring some coherence and stability to that. But I think the bigger question longer term has to do with, what that support model for student athletes looks like broadly, particularly given some of the lawsuits and some of the proposed legislation that's out there. And how do we maintain the integrity of a collegiate athletic model in that kind of an environment?
Paul brought up the NCAA Transformational Committee, which you're on. You just, of course, had an extension. By the way, congratulations on your contract and also that of Mac Rhodes and that of Dave Aranda, among others, as Baylor's been very busy. Were you ever approached by the NCAA or those looking in the search committee as the president and or of the Big 12 Commissioner's Office?
So, no, in both of those cases. We haven't even really started the search at the NCAA level. It's very early in that process as we're working to identify a search firm and other things. So there's really been no one that's been approached about that position because we're so early in the process. And I'm actually, along with the other two officers of the Big 12, part of the search committee, so I'm not a candidate for that job. So, but in both cases, looking forward to really bringing in exceptional leadership and know that there's good opportunities to do that in both of those cases.
How much were you concerned that Mac Rhodes might be someone that they would talk to?
Well, Mac is just an exceptional leader, and he does such a fabulous job for us here at Baylor, and we love the success that he's had in our program and just the integrity with which he runs the program and the values that are embedded throughout that as we, prepare champions for life. And so you always know when you've got someone like that, other people are going to think that they're of interest to them in positions. And so it's why it's important to us to do everything we can to make sure Max stays here for the long run. And that was certainly the intent of, among other things, of the contract extension, but also just a reward for him for the exceptional work he's doing.
Because it's not a job that you could just look up on Indeed.com and see the requirements, what do you personally think that the Big 12 commissioner needs to have, the next Big 12 commissioner that you guys hire needs to have?
Yeah. Well, it's a critical role for us in the conference. And so, I can't speak a whole lot about it because we're in a confidential phase right now in that search process. And so we've really committed to not making, public statements about it until we're ready to announce a new commissioner. But I think it's a great opportunity for someone to come in and lead one of the premier conferences in the country that's bringing in some really exceptional schools. And so, we're looking for a leader that's going to help us to continue to be one of the most successful conferences in the country.
Dr. Linda Livingstone, president at Baylor University, with us on SicEm 365 Radio. There's a lot of arrows, being thrown at the NCAA with Mark Emmert. He's on his way out, and so much of this. Is it the NCAA who's at fault, or is it the member schools who actually the NCAA works for?
There's a lot of criticism to be thrown around with, kind of what's happened at the NCAA over a number of years. And, I think we all kind of have to accept responsibility as a member organization. And much of the work that gets done and decisions that are made are, made through the engagement of the membership. And I think it's one of the challenges the NCAA has. It's a very large organization. It's pretty complex in the way it's governed and has a lot of different committees and other things that are designed to engage the membership broadly, which is important, but I think it can sometimes, slow down decision making. And then I think everyone would acknowledge that the NCAA, however you define it, the headquarters, the membership, was slow to get ahead of some of these issues that are now posing lots of challenges. So I think one of the things we all recognize is we have to have a structure and an approach to how we do work at the NCAA that's much more proactive and tries to see around the corners before things happen and try to get ahead of some of these really critical issues in college athletics.
Dr. Livingstone, I know that you guys had some announcements just a few days ago. You're talking about updates on, the statues and signage and things like that, but also the facilities, breaking ground, getting things underway for the new football facility, the new basketball arena as well. I mean, just how much excitement has that created, these projects, and how much of a workload has it been trying to kind of organize that and get those off the ground?
Well, we're really excited about all the projects that we have either underway or are going to be beginning soon. You mentioned some of the work from the Commission on Historic Campus Representations, and that, of course, process has really started almost 2 years ago. And so we're excited that this year we've certainly done some things in response to those recommendations, and I think this next year, over the next couple of years, people will see some real significant activity around that on the way our central campus looks and feels as we tell our story more accurately. So, that's an important move. Really appreciative of the Board of Regents for their leadership in that. And then, of course, the Mark and Paula Hurd Welcome Center, it looks different every single day as you watch it go up right there at University Parks and I-35. It's a fabulous facility. We took the board there and did a little walk through, and Paula Hurd was with us. It was really moving for Paula to see it and to sign, one of the light pillars because that's just so meaningful to her. And so we're very excited about the way that's going to change the face of the front door of campus and the impact it will have on student recruitment, on our alumni, and so many other ways. And then, of course, the two athletic facilities, the basketball pavilion. We've torn down the parking garage that sits where much of that building will reside, and so you're really going to start seeing lots of ground movement and work on that over the summer. And then, of course, we'll continue to make progress on the football development center. We'll break ground on that this summer as well. So, I think it shows the great commitment of the Baylor family to continue to support the university and not just the facilities, but the programs, the faculty that we need to continue to be competitive academically and athletically at the highest level.
I don't know how many colleges or universities have this right now, but it appears as if Baylor has that perfect, right down the spine, that perfect from president to athletic director to football coach and others as well. How many other schools do you feel like wish they had right now that direct line of everybody seems to be on the same page?
Well, I can imagine that everybody hopes that that's what they have or wishes for it if they know they don't have it. It's really critical. We talk about this a lot, and you mentioned it as it relates to our kind of athletic success and everything, but we talk about it on the academic side as well. You have to have a board that's bought into the vision and strategy. You have to have a president, a leadership team. And then on the academic side, your provost, your deans, your faculty. On the athletic side, your athletic director, your coaches. And we've just been very fortunate over the last several years to build that kind of alignment, both really across all aspects of the university, whether it's fundraising, student life, athletics, academics. And, it speaks to the board and the close work we do with them as an administration. It speaks to I have an exceptional leadership team. And then, our faculty and staff have been great partners in all of this with us. And we certainly couldn't accomplish what we have without, their work and their buy-in to what we're doing.
What does it say, Dr. Livingstone, and we appreciate your time. I know you have things to do as well with another question or two. What does it say in those 5 years next week that you've been at Baylor, that Baylor has now turned into a place that's a leader and showing the way in many ways after the school had been through so much? What does that say about the resiliency of the university?
I always say that one of the greatest strengths of Baylor is the love of the Baylor family for Baylor. And I think that's why we've had this resilience, because even through those really difficult times, the Baylor family came alongside Baylor, held us accountable, and expected us to do better. And as we made changes and laid out a vision for the future, they have walked beside us and helped us to be unbelievably successful, whether that's through fundraising or, participation in all of our activities. And, I can't say enough about the support the Baylor family has provided through really hard times. But, it would have been easy for people to just walk away, and instead they worked through it with us and have been unbelievably supportive to allow us to do what we do. And that's what it takes to be a great institution. You've got to have very loyal people working with you through the good times and the hard times, and that's absolutely what we have at Baylor.
Dr. Livingstone, I've been asking everybody from former players to current players who have now gone on to the NFL to the coaches when we talk to them. Last season obviously was very special in football, and they've got to turn the page and look at next season already. But I don't think I asked you this when we last had you on in January, but what were you doing? What was going through your head at AT&T Stadium against Oklahoma State, who I know, your alma mater, but as Jaron McVay makes that play, kind of Cinderella moment, can you just kind of put us in your shoes there and what was going through your mind?
Yeah, I was, watching that like everyone else, and you're thinking, there's no way we can do this 4 times in a row. And we'd already done it 3 times, right? Like, how can we do this 7 times in a row? And you just watch it, and it's almost like one of those things that you replay in slow motion in your mind over and over. And you just watch it and you go, oh my God, he's going to make that corner. He's going to make that corner. And then Jaron gets to him. And you're watching and you're looking at the referee because you're kind of going, did he really not hit the pylon there in the corner? And then when the referee calls it off, you're like, oh my gosh. And everybody around us went nuts. It was just so exciting. And of course, we show that highlight a lot. And it will always be probably one of our greatest highlights ever in athletics at Baylor. And every time I watch that, I still have this knot in my stomach, oh my gosh, he's going to score. He's going to score. I mean, it's almost like you still can't believe he doesn't score even though you've seen it 100 times.
Yep. You were there live in person. You still think he might accidentally reach over. And then you wondered if the pylon even wobbled, it might have been the ball, but it could have been the air. It could have been anything, but what a moment. The NIL, and you've discussed a lot of things in my last question for you. The NIL is obviously right now, it's been described as the wild, wild west. Is there any chance whatsoever that genie, at least part of it, a body part of it, can get back in the bottle and maybe have more guardrails in the future?
Well, that's certainly what we're all working on, is to one, we've learned a lot from the process. I don't know that we should be surprised by what happened, but I think we've learned a lot, and it's helped us understand, where the problems are and where we need to try to put some guidelines or guardrails around it that will help us manage this better going forward, so that it's a fair process. Student athletes are truly getting legitimate NIL money for legitimate activities they're engaged in that add value, and then it's not used as a pure recruiting inducement, which it was never intended to be. That was never what anybody was asking for, even folks outside of athletics. And so, we sent out the board put out some guidelines recently to re-emphasize what the policy was and what should and shouldn't be happening, and it gave the enforcement staff some guidance. But I think we're going to have to continue to work with the universities and athletic departments and their compliance staff to educate and help student athletes understand what's expected, and and we continue to have conversations about whether any legislation could be helpful or not. And I think as people have seen what's happened, it gives you a better sense of where the challenges are and where there are opportunities for us to try to align things better with what the actual real intent of NIL is. So, and it's been perverted some in some instances. I do think in most cases, for most sports, it's working like it's supposed to. We hear about the really high-profile ones and the ones that are probably a bit out of the lanes of what's intended. But I think for most student athletes, and again, in most sports, it's working the way it's supposed to be. And we're working really hard at Baylor to make sure what's working with our student athletes is appropriate, and it's true engagement that they're doing to add value to earn the money that they're being paid. And we've got a great team working on that. Mac and his team have put together great education. We also want student athletes not to be exploited in this process or taken advantage of in some way that they're not really prepared to do or not getting good advice on. And that's important for us, too, to protect our student athletes in ways that allow them to do this in a healthy way as it's intended.
Yeah, and he's also mentioned to make sure that Baylor, among many other schools, is not left behind. Even though, some schools have more, is there any concern that the haves are just becoming bigger than the have-nots?
I mean, it's always a concern. I do think, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Sometimes these things early on kind of get a little out of control as it's new and people don't know how it's going to work, and then things settle down as everybody understands how it's going to work and how we want to best work with student athletes. So I think we also have to be a little careful not to overreact to what's happening now, given how new everything is. And there's the interaction with the transfer portal as well, which, I think if you had either the transfer portal open like it is or NIL, you wouldn't be seeing all of this like you are. But I think those two kind of intersecting with one another at the same time without understanding the impact either one of those would have by themselves has made this more complicated. So I think, there's efforts both as we think about how to manage the transfer portal so it's fair to student athletes, but also helps coaches manage their rosters a little better, and how we think about NIL. Hopefully we'll see it settle into a sort of a more normal and maybe appropriate model going forward.
Dr. Livingstone, thanks for your time. We appreciate it very much. Dr. Linda Livingstone, president of Baylor University. I remember I was in Neff Hall, and she had been there. I mean, I don't really know if it's quite even had taken over. I was able to sit down, thanks to Jason Cook, and do an interview with her. Lengthy. She's always been accessible to us. We appreciate her time. By the way, somebody asked me about...
That was Baylor President Linda Livingstone from Wednesday. We had her on the show. When we come back, we'll just jump into more college athletics topics, because that's what we do here on the show, plus get in the chat room. For those of you who haven't gone away to the holiday weekend yet, because we're still here for the next 40 minutes, Paul, Catalina, Craig Smoak, more Sikkim 365 Radio after this. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Look, it is Memorial Day weekend, and that means you're going to need your craft beer, you're going to need your Texas craft bourbons, whatever you need, they've got it there. And big news, they're available on DoorDash now. So if you run out, you can just make a DoorDash order and get your delivery from Riverbend Liquor and Wine. So go on DoorDash, make that order. You don't have to leave the barbecue. They'll bring it right to you from DoorDash at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. So that's a huge deal for them. And now, it's a huge deal for you, because now, you don't have to have the argument of who's going to go on the beer run. Nobody. DoorDash is going to do that for you. And they're going to go to Riverbend Liquor and Wine and take care of it, because it's a fantastic spot as far as customer service, speed. The drive-thru window is great. And again, they're available on DoorDash. Or if you want to pop in this weekend, Lakeshore Drive in North 19th Street behind the bank.
The Memorial Day sales event is here at Allen Samuels in Waco. The new 2022 impressive Wagoneer Series 2 and 3 have 2.9% for 72 months and $3,000 in bonus cash. That's right, and $3,000 bonus cash. This great incentive on the new 2022 Wagoneers for a limited time only at Allen Samuels in Waco. First responders get $500 extra cash. Come shop the huge new car and truck inventory today.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
The secret to living your best life is pizza, obviously. Golden crust made from scratch, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and the toppings, crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, bacon. That's called a dream team. Find everything you need to live your best life and more at Marco's Pizza. Owner Bob Mock has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Welcome back, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, Garrett Ross, and Jack McKenzie. And we are headed into the weekend. Top 5 coming up in about, we're going to do it in about 24, 25 minutes. Because I have some bonus ones that I've done based on requests from yesterday on the top 5 call signs for college football coaches, part 2. I've got, the requests I got were Steve Sarkisian, Dana Holgerson, Tom Herman, Neil Brown, Pat Fitzgerald, which that one was really hard to figure anything up for, Joey McGuire, Kirk Ferentz, and Matt Campbell. So I've got the state of Iowa covered. But those are the requests I got in addition to some of the other ones I already did. So we'll have those at the end of the show today. But those are the requests I got after yesterday. And, thanks to Mitch Thompson for earlier in the show. Thanks to Linda Livingstone, all that. And Adam Flagler, you've heard that. Max Olson jumped on earlier. And we're talking to Max about reevaluating recruiting classes in 4 years. I wonder how many people really go back and think about that as fans, like 4 years down the line. And now do we have to reevaluate recruiting classes every 2 years because guys will move more? Like, how do you know you had a good recruiting class if you lost 7 of them in 2 years? I don't know. Like, how do you, that's probably the worst way to ask that. How do you reevaluate it now with the transfer portal being as open as it is? Like, what do you change about what was good and bad in a 4-year span, given that you may get a guy in that 4-year span that was just there for 2 years because he's a transfer? Where does he count on that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I guess it depends on who's writing the article, how they want to factor it in. I don't really give a crap about how they rank it, so I don't really know. But I mean, I think you base your recruiting class success on how successful the team ultimately is, and it doesn't really matter if some guys were there for 2 years or 4 years, or if you lost a bunch of transfers. At the end of the day, it'd be nice to be ranked in every little off-season review or look back or whatever, but all I really care about is what's going on right now. Yeah. And so, it's cute that Baylor's got a re-ranked top 15 class compared to their top 30, top 40 class from a few years ago, but I could have told you that they just won the Big 12 title and the Sugar Bowl title. So, yeah, clearly their class was a little undervalued a few years ago, but what difference does that make now that they've got a different number in front of it? I mean, nothing. It's nothing. It's pretty much just a redo. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think coaches or anybody outside of fans that are in the offseason are really all that worried about how the classes are viewed ultimately, or what grades they're given. It's just a fun exercise to do when there's a little bit of time off and the news is a little slowed down, which it's actually now probably the slowest it's been in 9 months. Well, shoot, maybe longer than that, because we had the season and then spring ball and then obviously transfer portal and NIL. I mean, this is a couple days in a row where there's not some massive new NCAA issue or some star player that's, looking for a new spot. I mean, there's a couple of those guys remaining, but for the most part, that's all settled down with, Jordan Addison finally making his decision, and then to a lesser extent, Tyrese Hunter in basketball. And I guess Matthew Myers, like the big guy now. But, yeah, I mean, your recruiting class, the final grade that I look at is not where 24/7 ranked you or Rivals or whoever. I'm looking at how many games did you win. Yeah. And so, wherever Baylor's recruiting class was ranked over the last 4 years, they were ranked there, and then they showed this year that it was all good enough to be able to result in what it resulted in. So, I mean, it's a fun exercise. It's fun to look back on. But I think, as far as recruiting classes go, there's going to be a bunch of teams celebrating on signing day, and we'll have all this propaganda about top 5 recruiting class for the somethingth year in a row and blah, blah, blah. And all those kinds of, graphics, number 1 recruiting class in the country. But, I mean, nowadays I think it matters less than ever because there is so much fluctuation that, half the classes in most every case that they listed out are gone or not even still a part of those classes. So it's a different world in that way as well, as you can strike out on recruiting and not pay the price like Texas has on the offensive line for, the last few years. They can just go grab guys or sign guys as high school students under NIL and go get guys in the transfer portal. So, coaches have a lot more ability to fix their mistakes than they used to have, I think.
Yeah, and I wonder how you change evaluating things. We were given a gift last week of all the news that came out, like all in succession for the summer, as talk show hosts and content creators. And like we had all that stuff come out, Jordan Addison and Jimbo and Saban and the new, deregulation of the divisions, and all that happened all in 1 week. So we were probably given like an extra week of big news before it slows down. After this week, there's the SEC spring meetings or whatever, and they'll go through that. And we'll find out what comes out of there. That'll be interesting to see, how quickly they squash the Jimbo and Saban beef and all that. I wonder if Jimbo says anything there. I mean, he had that, exchange with a guy in San Antonio, but mostly that's going to be, the SEC trying to say what they want the rules to be, for everyone else going forward.
I guess so. Yeah. They'll certainly be a topic, I would think, at SEC Media Days. I mean, even if those guys aren't talking about it, people are going to be talking about it. I'm kind of over it already. I mean, we've you analyzed it from every angle, and it was cute for a few days. But, I mean, at this point, it's basically cooled off, and, we'll get brought back up and reignited here, I guess, in a couple of weeks or whatever. But, that'll be interesting to see. And, I mean, there's been plenty of stuff going on. There's no doubt. So it's kind of normal for things to slow down just a little bit because here in about a month, things are going to get riled right back up. And I'm sure there will be plenty of other things that we're not even thinking about that occur. I mean, there's still all this talk about TV deals and playoff. And all of the NIL stuff and all of that, I mean, that's not going to go anywhere. But, yeah, I mean, Jordan Addison making his decision has certainly cooled off the transfer portal market, and basically all the dominoes have fallen at this point. So, I mean, it was inevitable. It had to happen at some stage, and there's still a few questions out there. But yeah, for the most part, it's kind of met its conclusion, so to speak.
Yeah, and like I think the big thing actually at SEC Media Days may seem kind of mundane, but they're going to debate their schedule model. I think it would be, for a conference that's refused to go to 9 games for a long, long time, if they decide to go to, maybe it's because they're going to be at 16 teams in a couple years, but if they decide to go to that 3-6 scheduling model with the rotation, it'd be great for the conference. It'd be great for television to see these things. You don't have that, 14-year gap between certain matchups, but it'll be interesting to see that, okay, well, they finally agreed to 9, and then some of the conferences may stay at 8. How much does the SEC, if they go to 9, influence everybody else? Because they're the trendsetters, right?
But they wouldn't be really trend-setting, would they? Big 12's already playing 9 games. Yeah, so, I mean, they're not trend-setting anything. They like to sometimes act like they're the trendsetters when it comes to everything, and sometimes take credit for being trendsetters when they're not actually. But, yeah, I mean, that'll be an interesting conversation. A lot of people have been talking about all these pods and all that jazz, and we've talked a lot about it. And like I've said, I'll be interested to see what the Big 12 does post Oklahoma and Texas. But we got another year of them, if not another 3 years, and or 2 years, whatever it is. And then once that's settled, I think, we can all predict it right now, and that's part of what we do, and I get it. But, predicting it right now when we don't even know what college football is going to look like in a year's time, I don't know that we're really solving any riddles here because you can project the pods all you want to, but we don't even know when OU and Texas are leaving exactly, like we think we do, but we don't know for sure because there's always the chance that a year from now they could say, you know what, screw it, we want out of here right now. Now, granted, that would come with all sorts of issues, including their rights being still held by the Big 12, but yeah, I mean, you can't just sit on your hands and not do anything because, as we've seen, that just puts you in trouble when the issues finally do arrive and you're like, oh, wait, what is this? And it's like you had all this heads up. Pod is obviously not an issue. It's just a problem to solve. But, yeah, I'll be curious how they eventually do that. But right now, there's really no rush. I mean, those news. I guess there's a rush in terms of those schools joining next year and how it's going to look with Texas and OU. But as far as like pods and divisions post Texas and OU, we got a couple of years to figure all that out.
Well, and look, they're going to have 12 teams for at least. I mean, you would think, unless all of a sudden when Texas and OU leave, they're like, yeah, and we're going to announce these other 4 now that they're gone. So,
maybe. I mean, who knows?
There have been bigger surprises in the world.
Do y'all think it's a good idea or a bad idea for the new schools to come in with Texas and Oklahoma? Because I feel like this is a dangerous situation because if you bring the new schools in, right, and you play Texas and Oklahoma, they beat the brakes off of all 4 schools and bail to the SEC. What does that say about your new conference?
I mean, I think it could just as easily, at least for 50% of those teams in Texas, work out badly. Because we don't know, and look, we don't know really what Oklahoma's going to be, although I think they're better positioned to be really good than Texas is, But yeah, I mean, I think it's fine to me. Bring them in, let them.
Well, that's what they should do. I mean, they're the big bad boys. So I mean, yeah, you would think that that's a matter of the probability that Texas and OU beat UCF or Cincinnati or BYU or whoever. But then again, I mean, that's what they should do. But there is that question of whether they can or not. But yeah, I've thought about that. I mean, I guess it gives them some semblance of bragging rights that they beat teams that they should have beaten to begin with, and they already think they're above anyways. But, there's just as much of a chance that it goes the opposite, and they go on the way to the SEC with losses to Cincinnati and, BYU and UCF and Houston. Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, though. I've thought about that of, kind of who gets the last laugh when all is said and done. And I'm curious of like how many of those teams do they actually play in the next couple of years? I mean, they're not playing them this year, obviously. So next year, 2023, do they play 1, 2, 3? They play all 4 of them in their last couple of years. Do they play any of them in their last couple of years? I mean, you'd think they'd play at least 1 or 2, bare minimum. But yeah, I mean, there'll be some temporary last laughs, but then, you can laugh all the way you want to the SEC, and you'll still laugh on top of the big pile of money that you'll make. But I don't know how much you're going to be laughing when you suddenly start that new schedule, though. So, it may be their last time to laugh for a little while, for all we know.
Well, and look, BYU's beaten both Texas and Oklahoma in the last decade or so.
Jaron Hall's good. He's not Taysom Hill, but
no, but yeah. Yeah, that's true. But like it's happened. BYU's coming in. The schedule they played the last few years, not afraid of anybody. So Cincinnati, we'll see how they respond to being as good as they've been the last couple years. A lot of those guys are gone, but you would figure that Luke Fickell has some recruiting momentum to build off that. Plus now with going into the Big 12, when those guys are going to be upperclassmen, they'll be in a Power 5 league. UCF is in Gus Malzahn's rebuilding that team right now, and I'm leaving. And Houston is good. Houston's good, So, yeah, I would assume that we're going to see Texas and Houston play at least once.
I would if I was the Big 12. But then again, I know that, I would make it in Houston too.
Yeah.
I'd put that bad boy in Houston and make UT play there. Why not? I mean, I think you're looking for the most intriguing matchups. And, yeah, I just don't know how they feel about, what are key games we must get done or on the schedule before those two bolt. Do we need to? I think we should see Texas and Houston in Houston. I think that would be a tremendous send-off. But do you want to see Oklahoma play BYU? Do you want to see Oklahoma play UCF? I don't know. I don't really know what they're thinking right now. They've obviously got a lot on their plate, and the whole division talk and all of that was put on pause because of, the recent move to deregulate the championship game. So that's another thing of they probably had how many meetings on and not specifically meetings on divisions or pods, but they probably had how many conversations already. Even if it's a little bit of a ways away, you still have to get the groundwork laid. And then all of a sudden you have all those conversations, and here comes the NCAA of oh yeah, we're not even going to have regulations for championship games, so you don't even need divisions. Okay, well, scrap that, throw that away, start all over again. So I think that probably shifted their way of thinking a little bit, and to what direction, I don't know. As far as what pods would look like or divisions and setups and all of that, but a lot of different things that these guys and gals are all having to try to figure out at the administration level.
Yeah, I don't know, and do you have all the leagues are going to have different amounts of teams, and not that they always have, but now you're looking at. So they're going to have 14 and then 12, and then whatever their scheduling model is going to be for 2 years is going to completely change, unless they want to do a dry run with it and see what happens. So, and then just kind of subtract 2, maybe add 4 down the line. I don't know. It's hard to predict, but Texas and Houston's got to be something you see. I would want to see it twice, but if you can have it twice.
Yeah, but you can. I mean, you can schedule anything you want. I mean, you can do whatever you want to if you're the Big 12. You're the ones that make the schedule. So, yeah, if they wanted to do that home and away with Houston and Texas, then that'd be cool. I'd be totally on board with that. If they want to do BYU Baylor as a regular thing, I'm cool with that. If they want to do whatever. I mean, I'm not picky when it comes to scheduling. I think as far as, if you hit the big – matchups, that's really what you got to focus on. If you make it as even as possible, you certainly don't want one team that's, going to have a far easier schedule than the others. I mean, and if you were to do that in NFL style, then you'd give Kansas the easiest schedule possible. But, I mean, how easy can you really make it? I mean, you got to play 9 games, so there's not 9 throwaways there that you can really make it all that easy for anybody. But how do you sort that out? I mean, again, that's the puzzle that they're working on, and the puzzle that had some pieces taken away and some new pieces added about a week ago with the deregulation of the championship game. So, again, that changes all of what they were talking about previously, because now it's not, okay, what pods do we have to have or what divisions do we have to have? It's how do we want to crown a champion? And, how do we want to, factor in these new teams for a couple of years? I mean, that's what we're all wondering, and it'll be very fascinating to see kind of when they come to that conclusion and how they come to that conclusion. And, here's the thing too, do you set it up for 2 years and then all of a sudden OU and Texas announce after next season that they're leaving?
Yeah.
Well, then what was the point? So I think they're just worried about the right now. I don't think we're talking about divisions of pods. I don't think they're talking about it all that much at this point because of the recent announcement. I think they're looking at, all right, next year, the year after, we think this is what it's going to be. Let's figure that part out. And as far as post OU and Texas, that seems like 10 years from now. I mean, I know it's 2. Less than 2, but it seems like it's about 10 years down the road because there's just so much coming at everybody at all times. And so I think they're kind of working on a 1 year at a time sort of deal right now.
Yeah, and look, as far as Texas and OU are concerned, when it comes to the Big 12 going, okay, this is the schedule for the next 2 years. You guys aren't leaving, right? That's not going to change. Well, you can't really trust what they say. And even if they believe they are, what's the new factor that comes in that says, they play 1 year and then bolt? I mean, not like they informed of their plans of this from the beginning anyway. So things can change so rapidly. Yeah, you have to do it like almost year to year.
Yeah,
And,
I mean, we have no idea what next year is going to look like. We have no idea. We have no idea what these TV deals are going to look like. We have no idea who's trying to get out of what situation they're in right now. We have no idea. We had no idea the transfer portal was going to be that it was. We had no idea that NIL would be this way. We had some idea, but like trying to forecast college football in 2 or 3 years is just kind of an empty exercise because there's no telling. I mean, there's absolutely no telling what it could look like. If you would have gone back 2 years from now, would you have predicted this currently? Would most people? What it's like at this moment?
No.
Getting rid of championship game regulations, NIL out the wazoo, transfer portals going nuts, 6th, 7th years for guys because of COVID and whatever. Like, none of us saw this coming. So to try and pretend like we even have any idea of what 2 years from now the environment's going to look like, I mean, shoot, for all I know, USC might be trying to get into the Big Ten 2 years from now. Yeah. For all I know, Oregon might be joining up with them to go to the Big Ten. For all I know, the Big Ten might pull half the Pac-12 and then them and the SEC become the AFC and NFC. Like, I think anything's on the table, and I wouldn't be surprised to see any of it. So, I'm hesitant to go like, well, it's just going to be real simple. Like, we'll do our thing, and then they'll leave, and then we'll do this thing, and then it's just going to go on all smooth. Like, no, there's going to be some disruption or some other asteroid that comes and hits college football that rearranges things. And what that's going to be, I have no idea, but there'll be something. It's not going to just be smooth sailing from here on out. They don't have half their problems solved, and those problems may only become even bigger problems for certain people involved. So, I mean, I'm kind of not being pessimistic by any means. I think
you're being realistic.
I just think like what's next is what matters. Like what's in your face right now for college football administrators and officials is what matters the most, and they got to figure those problems out. Also with an eye on the future and what's coming down the line, because clearly they didn't do either of those things for the last 2 decades. But they got to solve the immediate problems first, and while they're doing that, take some steps to get ahead of the curve on what else might be coming, but always have one eye looking to the side or an eye in the back of your head for whatever unforeseen thing is coming. We didn't know a year ago OU and Texas were going to the SEC. We had no idea. At this point in time a year ago, we had zero clue that they were going to be doing that. So would another move like that be shocking? Absolutely not. And that would just obviously throw things for even more of a tailspin. So that's what's fascinating, frustrating, but also incredibly interesting and fascinating about college football is just how much it's changed, how much there is a desire to keep it the same, but knowing that it can't be the same and knowing that there's any number of factors that could make it even more wildly different than we thought possible.
All right, Jack, I think Garrett might need your help. I just sent you an Instagram post to that computer. We have breaking news. Matthew Meyer has made his decision. Okay. He is going to Illinois per his Instagram page. Wow. John Rothstein, I saw his tweet. He's the guy who's got his finger on the pulse of all that. He tweets at it, or he put it on his Instagram page. We'll get that up for you right away. That one really, really surprising. I thought it was going to be UNC, but Brad Underwood gets a player with a lot of talent there at Illinois, and that's a team that's been pretty good but hasn't been able to break through and win a title. You didn't see it? I sent it to the Sikkim thing.
Well, I mean, if that's true, and I assume it is, I suddenly have no internet, so that's great. But, I mean, if that's true, there was a lot of Illinois fans that were very optimistic that he could end up there. And I, just saw all of the love for North Carolina. You got Baycott recruiting him, personally on Instagram a couple weeks back, and just where they went and what they did, you imagine him joining that fold and fitting in pretty nicely. But Illinois, there was a lot of fans of Illinois who felt good about their chances, and that was one of those teams that was mentioned. I mean, I didn't dismiss them, but it just didn't seem like as much of a strong thing as a North Carolina or even a Texas Tech, perhaps, just because of familiarity. But they had reason to believe, and well, look at them now. They're the ones that were proven right in the long run. So congrats to the Illini.
Yeah, let's go ahead and throw that up so people can – oh, not yet. Okay, Jack got it. But we'll throw it up so you can see it. Did some nice graphic design work here. Did Matthew Meyer or somebody did for him. But, yeah, there you go. So committed, new fit, what y'all think? This is the quote, hashtag committed at Illini men's basketball. So Matthew Meyer on his way to UNC. So all of the fear that he was going to stay in conference, well, it's not really an issue anymore. So he'll play his final year with the Illini, who lose Kofi Coburn. So that's a lot of offense that they lose. Matthew Meyer's offense wasn't great last year, quite honestly. So his defense got a lot better. We'll see how he fits with the Illini. But Brad Underwood, an excellent coach. But there is Matthew Meyer's decision. I think that's the last big one, right? I mean, maybe. I mean, there's a lot of guys in the portal. Who knows?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, that's one of the big ones.
There's been a couple big ones today. Tyrese Hunter, obviously, and Matthew Meyer out of the Big 12. I mean, Texas got a big commit there in Tyrese Hunter, and I'm thrilled that we're not going to watch Matthew Meyer at Texas Tech. I don't like the interconference stuff. I've already talked about that at length and don't need to keep saying that, but I guess it's been a couple hours since I reinforced that. So I'm on that side of things. I'm glad. I didn't want to see him playing Baylor twice a year. And, you know, he would have made them better. I'm not exactly like fearful of Tech had they gotten him. I mean, they're going to be what they're going to be, and I'm not really worried about Scott Drew and company hanging with really anybody in the country. But he would have made them a lot more interesting. But they're still going to have a good team regardless. And for Illinois, I mean, you got Terrence Shannon from the Big 12, and you got now Matthew Meyer, and obviously Brad Underwood has history with the Big 12. So it's a couple of big pickups for them. And, yeah, good for Matthew Meyer. I'm glad for the guy. I didn't root for him to leave Baylor, but I understood why he left Baylor and how he left Baylor, and I think everybody's on good terms, and I'm sure Scott Drew and company will be among the first to wish him congratulations and wish him the best, and who knows, maybe they will be seeing him down the line. I'm just glad that they know for certain that they're not going to. They don't have to worry about, oh, well, we're definitely going to see him in conference play. That's a nice departure from kind of the trend we've been seeing here lately with Big 12 guys.
Well, and Dane Danger, who is at Baylor, is there. So and played a role for Illinois last year. We'll break right here when we come back. The top 5 at 5:55. This is Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 555.
Part 2 of our tribute to Top Gun, which I will be seeing in about 2.5 hours. Very excited about it. Very excited. Gotten good reviews. We'll do the top 5 plus a bonus from yesterday, and then I have a list of others that people have requested. So here is today's top 5 coaches' call signs. You can go to the YouTube page and see yesterday's if you missed it. But number 5, David Shaw of Stanford, bookworm. Think this is appropriate. Constantly talking about that they recruit a different kind of player at Stanford, which is true. I really like David Shaw, but I think bookworm would be a good call sign for him.
Yeah, I mean, the whole Stanford nerd thing, right? That's what we're going for here? Yeah, I mean, a Cardinal would have been a cool name, too. Yeah. Just keep it simple with the mascot, but not as, as specific on kind of what we're going for with the Stanford angle. So, yeah, bookworm. I mean, he's a good coach. I mean, it's a program that kind of fades in and out, quite frankly, of interest levels. But, he's definitely a smart man. There's no doubt.
Yeah. Number 4, Mike Leach. Swashbuckler. You could have said pirate, but how many guys are pirate? Swashbuckler, to me, really kind of fits Mike Leach. When it's not just the pirate, he's a swashbuckler.
Yeah, the only thing I worry about here is room on the helmet to fit swashbuckler on there.
Like curve.
Yeah, it's going to have to go like around the sides. But, he's definitely swashbuckler, and the whole pirate thing has never left him. I mean, that's been the one consistent, other than football, surrounding Mike Leach in his career is being the jolly old pirate. So, definitely sticking with the pirate theme makes sense there.
Yeah. Number 3, Brian Kelly is chameleon. Changes his voice and his attitude no matter what city he's in.
Yeah, he's just never going to live that down, I guess.
No,
if he wins a couple national titles, maybe that will go away. But just a couple of failed TikTok or Instagram, whatever the hell they were, videos have kind of left him with a stereotype about his personality and his ability to, change voices and become a Southern man all of a sudden. But we'll see if he can blend in as well to LSU. I mean, so far, I don't think he's blended in that well. He hadn't been very much of a chameleon. He's been more of like, what's that dude over there? That doesn't fit in. But, if he can turn into a chameleon, that would be great news for LSU. But he certainly tried to, that's for sure.
Number 2, Dabo Swinney, Oldsmobile. And here, let me follow. Let me see if you can follow my logic with this. Dabo Swinney has been, I would say, as opposed to like a guy like Nick Saban or Lane Kiffin or guys who talk about the current state of college football where they may not like things. I don't think they're openly complaining. They're just trying to figure them out. I think he's kind of openly complained about it a little bit more.
Yeah, but how often has he done that, though? Man, I feel like he gets like a lot of S for like a couple of times that he's talked. And maybe I'm not disagreeing with your name or any of that. I'm just saying like he has this like reputation now, it feels like. And so maybe I've missed him talking about it more and more and more. And I've seen a couple times that he has. But
I think he actually has backed off because he gets backlash and doesn't want to deal with it. He's kind of like Mike Gundy in that regard of like, if you give me crap, like, all right, fine, you're not going to get the access.
Yeah.
Like,
she shuts down, and I understand it. Yeah,
I get it. But and look, I'm not saying he's completely wrong here. He wants things to be kind of the way that they used to be. Like Oldsmobile. It was a great car for a long time. It worked, but they don't make Oldsmobiles anymore, buddy. There's nothing we can do about it, but Oldsmobile fits him because he's kind of an old school guy in a new school time, and he's wrestling with that. And he can kind of fly off and say some things. During the COVID year, he said a lot of things that didn't make any sense. But I mean, we were all nuts, so it's fine. But it's just like, I think Oldsmobile fits him because he longs for the bygone era, but it's never coming back.
No, it's not. That era's dead. You can reminisce on it all you want to, but it's done. It's over, and it's not coming back. But yeah, he's definitely more of an old school type of cat. So I could see that.
And number 1, Lincoln Riley. Right now, he's bridesmaid because he's been to the playoff a few times. Always the bridesmaid, but never the bride so far for Lincoln Riley. But we'll see if he wins a national title, he can change his call sign to Beach Bum or something like that.
Well, I think didn't Top Gun have a Malibu and they had a Hollywood? Or at least
Hollywood
they had
Wolfman, yeah.
Yeah, so they had at least one of those. But yeah, like Malibu, I think could probably apply to him as well. But I mean, he's definitely been the bridesmaid. I mean, that's the frustration for Oklahoma fans is that you had these prime opportunities, more than one, to win some titles and break that 20-plus now year streak that you've been on without a national title. When they won that in 2000, the thought was, the feeling was, Bob Stoops did this in year 2. Imagine how many he's going to win when all is said and done. And he went on to coach for another nearly 20 years, played for nearly a handful of them, and not got a single one besides that 2000 title. So that's just kind of Oklahoma football in general is kind of the bridesmaid nationally. Yeah. In the Big 12, they're definitely the big dog, but. Being the bridesmaid is something that's going to have to change because they didn't go, do all these secret meetings and conversations and however quickly he wants to say that it happened. We know that there was probably conversations, at least with agents before that, but he has been the bridesmaid, and for this whole USC experiment to be worthwhile and to be what it needs to be and to be as impactful as the move itself was, he's going to have to be the actual bride. And I don't know how quickly that happens or if that happens.
Today's special, Gary Patterson. Oh, we'll start it. Did he do a graphic? We don't have a graphic on Gary Patterson. Okay, so here's the first one. I'll leave Gary Patterson to the end because it's my favorite one then. All right, so here's the list of people who have been requested. Steve Sarkisian, Lazarus, as he's come, his career was done at USC for a second. And he's come back, and Texas hoped that he applies that Lazarus to their program. So, I like Steve Sarkisian. We liked him. We talked to him last year. Like Steve Sarkisian, Lazarus, I think this is an appropriate one.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Dana Holgerson. Since he got kicked out of a casino, these are all just requests. You don't have any graphics on these. Don't worry about it. Dana Holgerson. I'm going to go with double down on Dana Holgerson. It's a twofold reason I'm doubling down on it. One, he got kicked out of a casino one time, which gave me the idea. But two, he's a guy who really backs his convictions quite a bit. So he's not afraid to double down on it.
No, he doesn't back off. I'd call him whiskey or something like that. I just think that's more straight to the point with him. But double down. Okay, the only thing is you do have to recognize these helmets there's only so much room. But I mean for the sake of this exercise, double down. That works.
Yeah, Tom Herman would be Rage Monster.
Okay,
because that's
I think Mensa would be the obvious. But. What was it again?
Rage Monster.
Rage Monster, okay.
Yeah, since he just, and look, I know he hasn't, flown into a rage, but one day, if he had kept being a college coach, I'm telling you it was going to happen.
No, I mean, probably, but I mean, I didn't really worry too much about his anger. I thought he kind of came across as a bozo, and that would have been my call sign for him there at one point in time. But I don't feel that way about him now at this stage. I don't even know if he's even in football right now.
I think he's coaching for the Bears.
I think that changed, but maybe I'm wrong on that because didn't they have a coaching change? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But yeah, Tom Herman, that works for him. He did have a little bit of an anger issue at times.
He's still an analyst for the Bears.
Okay, good for him.
Yeah, so that's according to Wikipedia. Neil Brown would be life support. And again, I understand. Long thing, but that's what his job at West Virginia is on right now.
I'd call him hot seat.
Hot seat.
Yeah, but life support. I mean, I don't know if they're quite to that level of West Virginia football right now. I mean, they do have some excitement going with the JT Daniels move. I mean, without the JT Daniels move, I would be very curious to check the temperature of Morgantown in terms of their feelings for 2022. But I think that was. That was life support for him, was getting JT Daniels. It completely changed the complexion of kind of the thoughts about them going in. Now, I think maybe to some degree a little too extreme, the flipping of opinions as though he's going to come in there and miraculously turn them into Big 12 champions. But there are reasons for optimism where there weren't previously, previous to JT Daniels. So, yeah, I like Neil Brown. I want him to work out there in Morgantown, but I know he does need to have a big year.
Pat Fitzgerald, steady. That's all I can think about him. All I think when I think of he's just steady. He's the same now as he was before. He's the same as he'll ever be.
That was a request?
Steady. Yes, Pat Fitzgerald.
Okay, yeah, because I was going to say that was random.
Yeah, I know. But it was a guy
yeah,
text
no,
last
that's
night.
fine, yeah.
Pat Fitzgerald. So, Northwestern fan. There you go.
Yeah.
Joey McGuire. Rah-rah.
Or let's go.
Yeah.
If I hear that again, I'm going to bash my head against the wall, quite frankly. I've seen that so much on Twitter, and not even just from Tech, just from people in general with the let's go. But yeah, he's definitely a rah-rah guy. He's got, again, some good momentum going right now. They're recruiting well. And, it's just the thing to me, it would be more impressive if I was seeing it for the first time. And I just hate saying it like this because I feel like it's going to be misconstrued, that I'm not giving enough credit or whatever. It's just, I've seen this whole thing before. I saw it with Matt Rule. I saw how they built up that recruiting class when they first came in. I saw how they chose the recruits that they chose. It's very similar to the method that's being used at Tech now. There was a whole article on it, right, in The Athletic about, how they did it before or how they're doing it right now. And he's doing a lot of the same things as far as connecting the program and the university and the off the field and the on the field. And it's all great. It's all great. I'm not saying it as though it's not a good thing at all. And I hope it works out well. I think there's a lot of reasons for Tech fans to be pumped up. It's just probably not as impressive or as exciting to me, for one, because we don't cover them like we cover Baylor, and I saw it happen at Baylor. So I hope he has the same success, that it translates the way that it did for Matt Rule, only a little bit quicker. Hopefully he doesn't have to go 1-11, but there's no chance they go 1-11 this year.
By the way, Charles Pyle says that Top Gun's a great movie. Saw it last night. Okay.
That's all I've heard. I haven't heard. I think there was one stupid, snobby, movie reviewer that just has to be different, that had a mediocre grade for it, but it was a stupid reason. It was just being different. It's just being an idiot and being different for no reason other than to be different. But everything else that I've seen, other than that one person, that one movie critic, was all, thumbs up.
Yeah. Kirk Ferentz, Gramps. He's crotchety and old.
Yeah, he's been around for a long time now. That's for sure. He's done it a different kind of way than pretty much everybody else has done it. You'd think that most programs, he's had success, but it's not been the overwhelming league. It's been consistent. He's definitely consistent, but it's not like, they're not jumping up and winning Big Ten titles left and right.
He's not innovating. He's
just super steady. He's just, staying the course and doing what they do. And some years are better than others, but every year's pretty good. And that's admirable. And it's not all, national championship or bust. And that's why they've been able to be successful. They're not worried about, oh my gosh, we only won 8 games this year, we got to fire our head coach. It's almost that's a stupid idea. Be realistic about who you are. And Iowa's been super realistic about who they are. And it's worked out well for them.
Matt Campbell is attaboy. And the reason I say this is because of his little speech about not winning the Big 12 was not a thing.
That was our disappointment, not Iowa State's. Yeah.
Attaboy.
Yeah, that was still one of the dumber post-game things that I heard last season. I understood where he was coming from, but that was just trying to polish up a turd, quite frankly. Yeah. They definitely did not meet the expectations, and if his expectations were what they met last year, then I think he's he should like bump those up a little bit, because it's not like he's in year 2 at this point, and it's not like they're, Iowa State's known for winning national titles, so you have to be realistic. But I think to say what he said last year, that was kind of polishing a third.
And the last by request, Gary Patterson, tinfoil, because he's a conspiracy theorist and wears a tinfoil hat. This guy is watching my practice. SMU plotted to attack Jerry Kill. What am I missing? Any
number of issues with Baylor that he had over the years, whether that be, trying to get into a fight with Ahmad Dixon or whatever, Orion Stewart, or his comments in the midst of the Baylor scandal when they actually pressed him on some issues, like the whole drug dealing thing with Casey Paha, his quarterback, that got pushed to the side really in the media because Baylor was front and center. And while that was all ongoing, he made the comment about, well, it's nothing compared to what's happening 90 miles south of here, or whatever he said. And it's a lot of people glossed over that, but I definitely saw that. It was a low blow that was unnecessary, but, the rivalry was kind of still hot at that time. But it was certainly I don't know, I might call him Glass House. Depending on some of his behavior, quite frankly. But, that works for him.
Yeah, tinfoil. There we go. Because I also, Jack told me, you got to be something that you can shout over the radio.
Yeah.
They're on your 6, which tinfoil believes that somebody's always on his 6. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thank you to everybody who watched, especially on a holiday weekend today. Thank you to Dr. Linda Livingstone. Thank you to Mitch Thompson. Thanks to Max Olson, Jack, Garrett, Emery. Smokey is back on Tuesday. We're off on Monday. We'll see you then, guys. Have a great weekend.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.